Hello? Can you guys hear me? Is anyone here? Can you guys hear me? It seems to be working from what I see, so I'm just gonna wait till people hop on basically. You got Lisa Bales. What's up, Lisa? Unbiased stream ended a little early. I think we were probably talking too long and he didn't get to jump in or something. So I had a couple guys on the panel. Yo, Pull Check Boxing, what's up? Yeah, so basically Unbiased stream ended a little not early because we were talking for a while, but I don't think he had a chance to properly shut it down. And then it just kind of turned off. So I thought I might as well just continue it over here. If you guys want to hop on, I dropped a link. I'll drop it again if you guys need. Salute to Lisa Bales and to Pull Check Boxing. What's up, guys? So it's good to see you guys around. I've just been basically fiending for these lives because I don't know, man. I guess I'm bored and I like talking about boxing. So yeah, Unbiased was live. I think there was this weird I don't know. People weren't getting notifications for getting people live, so I'm glad you guys saw this at least. Chen Smoke, what's up, man? Good to see you guys in the chat. Black and Brown Boxing, what's up? If you want to hop on, I'll drop a link. Anyone's free to hop on. We don't have a specific topic. I put discussing and breaking down boxing house divisions because we just ended talking about the 154 division, the welterweight division a little bit. The chat warrior role. Okay. Yeah, we just started talking. I don't know. I'm gonna give you guys some wrenches because I trust you. All right, there you go. You guys got your wrenches, I think. Does Chen Smoke have it? Yeah, he's got it. About. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'll be waiting a bit, just a minute, until maybe people can hop on. But if not, I'll just start talking about something I've been working on in the background. I don't mind revealing it a little early. I mean, yeah. So I don't know if you guys know, and I was gonna make a video on this, but Errol Spence and Danny Garcia are been mandated to fight according to the WBC because Danny Garcia is ranked #1. I don't know exactly when this is going to occur because boxing's on pause right now, but they were saying maybe July if they can work that out. So I think that'd be a good fight. But we were discussing on Unbiased's channel that I think it could be a dangerous fight for Errol Spence because it would be his first comeback fight since the accident. It's been quite a long layoff, and you don't see his video? Oh, that's weird. Yeah, YouTube's been really weird, but it'd be quite a long layoff, and I just don't know how he would react to being in the ring again so quickly. And yeah, Garcia might hurt Spence. I think he has. I don't think it's going to be a fight that Spence is favored to win, in my opinion, right now, because of the injury, and I think Garcia was already a threat to him before the car accident. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it happens. And the early odds right now are plus, I think 400 for Garcia. So they're really underrating him, which is surprising to me. I think Garcia, we were talking about it, I think Garcia is going to have more success on the outside and maybe mid-range. That's probably going to have his most success, while Spence is going to have better success at the close range because we haven't really been able to see Danny. I mean, Spence has fought Brooke and Porter at the close range, and I think they're better at that than Danny Garcia is. So I think Spence is still going to have the advantage there. But yeah, exactly. The pull check boxing, one good shot to the head, and who knows. Oh, I forgot I can put the messages up. Oh, Raider. Yo, Elevator, what's up, man? I think you're muted right now. Yeah, Chen Smoke agrees as well. I think it's honestly maybe not a good fight for Spence at the moment. If he can, he should take a tune-up, but I don't think he's going to be able to because it's a mandatory. So he might even vacate his belt, his WBC belt he just won from Porter. So it's a very interesting scenarios playing out right now, where I think the number 6 or 7 guy is going to be too tough for the number 2 or 1 guy, depending on how you have it. And then I'm gonna ask these guys their opinion on that in a second. But what do you guys think in the chat? Do you guys just think it's a dangerous fight to take, or who do you favor? Yeah, Garcia might become the new. It's weird because I don't think people were thinking Garcia really had a spot, but he's kind of opened himself up in the position. Yeah, sorry, Vader, I didn't see that message. He's opened himself to a position to possibly be in the chance of winning the unified championship for the WBC IBF. So that's pretty interesting to me. We got Get the Smoke and Raider from LA right now. I don't know if they're ready. I think they're both muted right now. Let me know if I need to fix anything. Yeah, Garcia might become the new champ. That's pretty insane to me.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, we're just talking about they weren't able to see Unbiased's stream. I guess they didn't get the notification. We got Get the Smoke, Raider from LA. I'm IBT. You guys probably know that though. Yeah, I think he could use a tune-up, but I don't think they're gonna let him. That's the thing. So either he's gonna have to gamble on doing well enough to beat Danny Garcia, who I think is a real threat, or he's gonna have to vacate, which would be that would be troublesome for him. And then I think
there's a third option. I think that they can come to a deal that he can fight him next or whatever with the tune-up, and I think that those guys at the PBC would be fine with it to a certain extent. I don't think that. I do think Danny wants a huge payday, but I think that money talks in this situation.
Yeah. So the only issue but I think I don't think he'd want to let him because he kind of has him with his tail between his legs here. So if he reveals that he doesn't want to take this fight immediately, he kind of puts himself for a vacancy belt, right? Or he can force him to fight him because of WBC. So either he gets the vacancy or he's forced to fight him. And if he does the vacant path, I don't think that's as good for him, honestly, because that would mean, according to the rankings, he'd have to either fight Porter, which I don't think Porter can fight yet, or he'd have to fight Ugas or Mikey Garcia. Those are the top guys in the top 4. So in top 4 for the WBC rankings at welterweight are Porter, Garcia, Ugas, and Mikey Garcia. And I just don't think a lot of those are. I don't think he wants to take those chances when Spence is kind of, he's hurt right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it behooves Garcia to take a little bit of money, get an envelope, let Spence take another fight if he wants to, and just make the fight after that fight. And I think that would also satisfy the WBC because WBC just wants them to have a fight, planned or whatever. As long as they have a deal, as long as they strike a deal to fight, the WBC will be happy with that. And yeah, Danny would rather see Spence than rather see Porter again or Ugas or any of those other guys because they just don't have to. I think that he wouldn't mind fighting Mikey. And I think
I thought a deal fell through, but I don't know why they would put Mikey ahead of Ugas in that scenario. You know what I mean? I just kind of gave the top 4 for no reason.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I think that Danny would be fine with Spence fighting somebody else, and then also Danny, in the meantime, would be happy to fight Mikey while Spence fought somebody else. Did I get kicked out? Or what happened? Hello? Still here?
Cool. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can IBT? I think I might have lost IBT though. I think you're on mute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
I can hear you now. Yeah, cool.
Sorry, my headset died. But yeah, like Polchek is saying, it's kind of Garcia's chance to hop on the belt, right? I mean, at the very minimum, he can put himself in a good position for the WBC belt, and if he fights Spence, he has a good chance to get the IBF as well. So he could become a unified champion almost on a whim, which is pretty insane if you ask. Not insane in a bad way, but kind of good luck, I guess. Bad luck for Spence, or he's in a tough spot right now because almost like the Derevyanchenko Canelo situation when he was mandatory. Derevyanchenko arguably had a upper hand in that because due to the mandatory, he would either have to vacate or be forced to, give him a lot of money. So when they were forced to vacate because of De La Hoya or whatever, he was able to get Triple G and the IBF. It increased his chances of getting the IBF title, and people argue that he won. And my first time watching, I had Derevyanchenko winning. And if they wanted to make a Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia fight, they would have to go to the zone for Mikey because I think he's on a fight plan with them. I think he has fight planned with them or for a Pacquiao fight. But I don't think Mikey would. I don't think Mikey is necessarily in the picture for the WBC belt at the moment. I think his best shot is the WBA Super. And what are you guys' thoughts? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, what's up, Raider?
Yeah, I heard you. I don't know what Raider's doing, but as far as being in line for a title shot, yeah, I don't think Mikey is that, but I think Mikey has a couple of really good options for money fights, and Danny Garcia is one of them. And the idea that Pacquiao and Mikey is going to happen on the zone seems a bit far-fetched to me. I think that's a zone wet dream. The two PBC like mainstays are going to go over to the zone for a big money fight. Yeah, I don't think so.
I thought Mikey was. I thought Pacquiao was on his final fight for the PBC or something like that.
I don't know. He may have one or two,
Yeah,
but whatever. Even if it's final fight, the final fight would be Mikey.
Yeah, they could do that. But the whole thing was that Mike was on the zone. I think that's why they brought him over. But yeah, I think that matchup, regardless of the platform, is going to be the one that's scoped out from Team Pacquiao after this whole pause is ended, or I guess unpaused, right? But yeah, the welterweight division is kind of shaping out very interestingly at the moment. All right, we got Battle Rifle. What's up, Battle Rifle?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You guys see my face. The jig is up.
It's okay. Yeah, so what do you guys' thoughts on this? I know we kind of covered it already, but
What's the hottest?
Yeah, I think he's right. Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia. If he's gonna go for a money fight, definitely gonna be Danny or Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I think he has a decent matchup in both of those fights, to be honest.
Who do you think he has a better chance of beating?
Maybe Manny, but I don't think Manny's worse than Danny. That's not why I say. I just think his right hand and his style. Not that Pacquiao's style isn't hard, is made for Mikey or anything, but I think he kind of has that timing. And Pacquiao's weakness is when he kind of jumps in and out. He can get timed, and that's how he lost to Marcus.
Exactly.
And that's how Mayweather was able to keep him off.
Well-timed, well-placed right hand. Mikey's stopping
Yeah. And I think Mikey's right hand's really good. The power moved up, I think. And we saw Jesse Vargas, who's arguably a junior middleweight. He kind of got rocked and downed, and he almost got knocked out. I think if there were a couple more seconds in that round, the ref would have stopped it. And Polchek, really quick. Really quick, because you said Pacquiao has a corona. I don't know if you saw, but last night it was revealed that he was exposed to someone that had the coronavirus. They tested him this morning or something, and it seems that he tested negative, so he doesn't have the coronavirus.
I wasn't aware that it was so now.
I dropped my headsets when you said what the outcome was. So was he positive or negative for COVID once they tested him?
He tested negative, so he's good. But
Okay.
he's still in a self quarantine right now, and I don't know if you guys know, but he's been doing a lot of he's been helping the Philippines out a lot with the whole COVID-19 scenario. So the public was really worried about it, but it seems he's good and he's in self quarantine now.
Yeah.
So Raider, you can go.
You know one thing. Yeah, no, a lot of people. I don't know if you guys haven't talked about is Mikey's last fight with Vargas.
Yeah.
His ring check on point. I don't know if you guys know it. And Vargas was fighting Mike as you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I definitely.
What go ahead.
What's up?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I said go ahead. I cut you off. Hello, can you guys?
We can.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Raider Cook.
No. So, like I was saying, Mikey's ring generalship is really good. Like, so ring generalship is basically the fighter that fights his fight. He's making the other fighter fight his fight, and Mikey Garcia is really good and really underrated.
Yeah, I found his style of micromanaging the spacing and the timing was really effective against Vargas. We all know Mikey's a slow starter because he has to kind of pick up the pace or like get control of the timing and the speed of the fight. Yeah, and like Polchek was saying, I think he kind of lost the first couple rounds, but after he got the knockdown, I think he won basically every round just on hitting the power punches and rocking Vargas over and over again. I think if he hit the gas a little more, he could have got Vargas out of there, and I would have liked to see that just to cement himself at welterweight. But I think just the win was so dominant, and it showed that he had power over the bigger guy because I think people were doubting that after Spence. He kind of put himself back there as a player.
Hey, kind of off topic a little bit.
Hold on, sorry. Go ahead. Do you think if Mikey beat Danny, there would be a clamor for the Spence rematch?
Like you're saying, if Danny beats Spence and then he beats Danny?
No. Just let's say in the next fight, we do this scenario where Spence gets a tune-up and Danny fights Mikey. Yeah. Let's say Mikey wins that fight. Do you think because of the performance he had with Vargas and now him coming off of a win with Danny, would that be enough for there to be, the public support for the rematch?
I think so.
I don't think people would support it, but I don't think people would be necessarily against it. They probably would just, like Polchek is saying, I think they would just not want that matchup. I don't think they think he's not a welterweight at that rate, but I think the popular opinion would be not. But like, go Raider. Sorry.
No. What I'm thinking is that that was his first fight at 147. He basically faced the top dog, and he didn't live up to what he thought he was going to do. You know what I mean? So they basically say, you know what, you don't belong in the 147. So he fought Jesse Vargas, who's not an elite 147 fighter, but he is definitely a workhorse. And then if he was to beat Danny, Danny was probably, what do you think? You guys, he's a top 3 welterweight, you think, maybe?
Top 5, definitely.
4?
Top 5.
I think top 6, top 5 around there. You can make the argument.
Yeah, so he's beating Danny. I mean, it depends too on what fashion, like if it's a KO or a TKO. If it's something like that, then yeah. I think people would want to watch that fight.
Yeah, I could see why you justify it. The last guy.
If it's the other way around, if it was Mikey and Manny who fought, if Mikey beat Pacquiao, like that is just so much money leaving the Crawford fight, Crawford or Spence. Like Mikey versus Crawford or Mikey versus Spence just would not be as big.
Mikey versus Spence after he beats Pacquiao, probably. I mean, I think it'd be big, but I just don't think it would be. I just don't think it'd be the same because Pacquiao has that name. Not to say Mikey Garcia doesn't have that name.
I'm saying if Manny beats Pacquiao, then everybody, I think both the Crawford fights and the Spence fight become way more interesting. But if
Mikey beats Pacquiao,
no, if Pacquiao beats Mikey,
right?
If Pacquiao beats Mikey, then both of the all the unifications get way more interesting, right? But if it's the other way around, if Mikey beats Manny, then it becomes way less interesting.
Probably. I think after Mikey gets the belt, he maybe defends it or tries to unify. But I don't know if he would campaign at 147. I don't know how what the plan is, but I'd rather see him at different weight class, to be honest. If he beats Mikey, if he beats Pacquiao, then I can't complain, I guess. But Polchek is saying, I think people would watch, but I don't think anyone would call for it.
Yeah.
So what about if Mikey did beat, like you said, if he did beat Pacquiao, would people want to watch a unification with Spence, Mikey versus Spence, if he beat Pacquiao?
Yeah, no, I think they'd rather see Crawford. I think people would rather see Crawford. I know I would. I would rather see the Crawford fight because then they have their whole thing from the amateurs, and we basically already seen the Spence fight. So in order for Mikey to get the Spence rematch cracking and cooking the way it should, he would definitely have to beat Manny and Terrence.
Yeah,
and you know what? That makes sense too. That makes sense because now that makes sense too now because now if Mikey beat Mikey, no, I'm saying if Mikey beats if Mikey beats Manny and then he fights Crawford, that's a win-win situation because if Mikey beats Crawford, it'll be a unification and an undisputed with Errol Spence if he still has the belt, or Crawford undisputed with Errol Spence. It'd be a bigger fight,
Yeah, everything, and then everybody would be like, "It's justified. He's cleaned out the division. Now is not his first fight back." It would be there'd be a lot of heat on that fight, I think.
And you know what? Is it my phone? Every time I talk, it looks like I'm cutting somebody off, and every time I stop talking, I wait for 2-3 seconds for somebody to respond. I think my phone's tripping.
I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, you're fine. I think it's just the order of speaking. It's
the lag time. The lag. I got big time lag. Yeah, I got my lag is big. I got a big every time I talk, I can hear you guys keep talking, and then when I finish talking, there's a big silence, 3 seconds. So I'm thinking my phone is probably lagging.
Oh, okay. If you need to leave and come back, I'll put another invite in the chat if you want that.
Yeah, let me do that because I don't want to be cutting you guys off all the time.
That's fine.
All
right. Polchek says, "Yep, 140 is better for Mikey." What do you guys think about Mikey's where he what weight class he belongs at? Do you guys favor him at 147, 140, or 135?
I thought
140 probably.
I think 140 is fine. I think 135 is probably his best weight. I think that if he was at 135, I would favor him to beat everybody, but probably maybe Devin Haney. But I think he still has what it takes to beat Devin Haney.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the Devin Haney would be. I think the dimensions would be an issue, but the way he fights. He's able. Robert Easter was a big guy, but he didn't really use his height properly or his reach. He doesn't know how to fight tall, basically. And Devin Haney is much better at fighting tall. So that'd be the biggest thing.
Do you think his Vargas performance would give him credibility for fighting a Haney?
No, just because Jesse Vargas doesn't have this. He's just not as crafty as Devin Haney, even at this early stage of his career. But Vargas to me is he's a workhorse. He has a lot of heart. He has high volume, but there's not a lot of wrinkles to his game.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. Dr. Mario 41 said that he's too chubby for one. He's too chubby now for 135. Do you guys think that he could make 135 if he tried?
I don't think
Mikey?
I don't think Mikey's interested in doing that. I think he's not that hungry anymore as a fighter, but I don't think his body is too far gone. No.
What about you, Raider?
I agree. I agree. I don't think he's interested at 135 anymore. I think he's done with that. He's moving on.
Yeah, but that's a different question than what's his best weight. I think his best weight is 135. 140s is like, he looked kind of like thick around the middle and straight. Like he looked kind of weird at 140. He only fought the one guy, Lipinets, who also was at 147. Yeah, I mean, I think he would clean out 135, whereas at 140, Taylor is also kind of a big guy. Prograis also kind of a big guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I can favor him most at 135 probably.
Yeah. Hey, IBT, I wanted to ask a question. Can I ask? It's kind of off topic.
Yeah, it's any.
Is it cool? What? I didn't hear too much about what do you guys think of the Jacobs versus Chavez fight?
I thought
that was a pretty close fight, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Chavez he kind of surprised me a little bit because I knew that he would come out and be a big guy. He looked like a light heavyweight, cruiserweight, like in between there. But he just doesn't have the heart or like the stamina, man. I don't know. He had some good jabs, but I think Jacobs had the smarter jab. Like someone on commentary was saying that too. And I think that Jacobs was just adapting, and then he hurt him and he quit after that. I thought it was really embarrassing, honestly. I felt bad for Jacobs.
I thought it was two uninspired fighters getting a paycheck.
You know what I thought, man? I agree with IBT. There's something about Chavez that he looks like he's not into it, like he's not trying. Like, I'm doing this for money, like he doesn't have like that boxing, that fire in him, like he's like, whatever, I lose, whatever,
I don't think Jacobs has a fire in him. Also, I think both of them. I think it's a difference though. Jacobs is like flipping burgers on the mic, like in the ring. He's in it for a little bit longer haul, where Chavez is just catch as catch can. He's more like, when I get a big paycheck, I'm going to come in and do something and then collect my check. But Jacobs is like more of a, I'm not going to try too hard. I'm not going to get too up, and I'm not going to get too down for it. Like he's but basically both of them are mercenaries. They're in it for the check.
Yeah, and like Dr. Mario was saying, Chavez didn't even really try for the Canelo fight. He lost every round, just got dominated basically. I think honestly Canelo kind of took it easy on him. He just looked bad in there. I don't know.
Yeah, Canelo had a lot to do with that too. Canelo was punching the shit out of him. He couldn't. Every time he would throw something, he would just punch to the point where he didn't even want to throw anything.
That fight is also a black eye on boxing. Like the fact that Chavez wasn't trying to get drug tested, like that is not where the sport needs to be. The direction the sport needs to be going in my estimation.
Yeah, that's probably when I thought the Canelo criticism was the most, just like, I don't know, like vitriol, I guess. And then after that, it kind of got better because he had a really good string of fights with the Triple G and Jacobs, and then now Kovalev. But Lisa Bales was asking, what do you guys think of the 175 division right now? Like, how do you guys rate it?
As top heavy. It's kind of top heavy, like the second tier guy. Really, yeah, it's really just Bivol and Better Beef, and then people trying to be better to figure out who's out of that. Like the Pascal and Badu and the other. Go ahead.
But to what you were talking about, how it's kind of top heavy, and the top two clearly being Bivol and Better Beef. Are you like what do you think about Vosdick? Because I mean, I thought he was pretty good, and I didn't have him as a strong favorite over Better Beef, but I had him as a favorite over Better Beef to win the unification, and I was kind of shocked when he got stopped, to be honest.
I wasn't shocked when he got stopped. I was shocked the way he fought. I was shocked that he fought so timidly.
Yeah.
I would just say that's not the guy that I expected.
That is true. Man, that dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Canelo, has a really precise punch output thing out there, but even then, that was just embarrassing.
I know that in the amateurs they fought and Better Be got the better of him. Do you think it had something to do with that mental, like I've lost to this guy before?
That was definitely that's definitely what they were saying, but I'm not part of the. They always are saying that about Kovalev and his amateur career is that everyone was all afraid of him, and the guys they have these, they have these inside knowledge that other fans don't have. I will say that he did not box with any sort of like confidence that he could beat Kovalev to me.
Mm-hmm.
We talking about who's the best at light heavyweight?
Yeah, we're talking about light heavyweight right now because at least I was asking. I think it's like you said, it's kind of top heavy.
Hey, so I have the scorecards here for that. I have the scorecards here for that fight. So going into the 9th round, 2 out of the 3 judges had Vadzik. They had one judge had 78-74 for Vadzik. The other one had 77-75 for Vadzik, and the other one had 77-75 for Better Beef.
Yeah. The thing is,
I mean, that was a tight fight.
His strategy wasn't the issue to me. Wasn't his strategy, and I think he was performing the game plan pretty well. It was just his attitude about it. He just seemed very timid, and he didn't seem like he believed in it. It seemed like he thought going by this, fighting the way that he was fighting, that eventually he's going to get knocked out. That was my impression of the way he was fighting.
Yeah, I can get where you got that vibe from, and I did think that he brought the right game plan, but similarly to what Get the Smoke was saying, I don't think he had enough. There was not enough oomph almost. You know what I mean? I feel like he was kind of holding back on his shots. Like almost everything was slightly hesitant. The more the fight went on, I thought he started out fine, but yeah, I think Better Be good. I don't think he's unbeatable though. I think his game plan was already kind of there to win the fight. And I think Beevel's a good fighter. I think that's a pretty 50-50 fight where I slightly favor Beevel.
You favor Beevel over Better Beef?
Just in the style matchup, I think Better Beef probably beats the other light heavyweights in a more convincing fashion, but Beevel just has that like decision style. He just outboxes you and keeps you on the outside. But we have to see how he handles that pressure because Bostic was talking about how the pressure was something he's never felt.
Yeah, I would favor Bivol too, man. I mean, the guy is a elite class.
So to me, Bivol, Pascal showed that Bivol can be a bit one-dimensional, but I don't think that Better Beef has those kinds of skills to bring that out in Bivol. I think Bivol is a young, tough kid who throws. He's fairly sound. Better Beef is a tank. I think it'd be a great fight. I don't, that's a 50-50 to me.
Yeah.
Hey, does anybody have the WBO?
Yeah.
No, it's vacant at the moment.
It's vacant, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know Better Beef's got 2, and Bevel has the other one.
Yeah, Bevel has the WBA Super, I think, and then Better Beef has the IBF and WBC as well as the Lineal Championship.
Yeah. So Gilberto Ramirez, Zurdo Ramirez, he's a number 1, right, for the WBC. I thought he was. He's not. Or WBO or WBC. No, WBC.
Oh, I don't know that off the top of my head. Let me check. I know for the WBO, he was mandatory. He was mandatory, I think, but something happened where I really don't understand what occurred. But he is like 7th in WBO now, when normally a champion moving up is number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
have Vadzik now at 7. Yeah, right. Yeah. I wonder if they can make that happen, or see. I would like to see that, man. That'll be a good fight.
Yeah, the WBO at light heavyweight, like those guys, the top 10 are just who's that? Yeah, it's high. It's top heavy. Like Glowacki, Okoli, Lawrence Okoli, he's got a little bit of shine to him.
Isn't that Cruiser?
Is this Cruiser? Oh yeah, that is Cruiser.
Lawrence Okoli? I thought that was heavyweight.
No, that's Cruiser.
Yeah. Because you said Glowacki, or yeah, I think you said Glowacki, so I
Yeah,
Yeah,
recognize.
Glowacki. I know he's cruising.
Glowacki's
Yeah,
cruiser. Yeah, Glowacki's cruiser.
yeah.
Who's the other guy
The
you said?
rankings are kind of weird for the WBO right now. Oh,
What
intangible.
you say?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
how's it going? Talking about 175.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
Salamov, Maslov, Alvarez, leader, Joe Smith Jr.,
Yeah,
Kovalev, Yard, Ramirez, Pachowski. I don't even know that. I don't know who that is. I'll be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah,
Caparello and
175. I think
Lopez.
it's a pretty underrated division. I think it's pretty competitive. I mean, if you look at the champions, I mean, Alvarez just vacated, but you have Bivol and Beterbiev. Both
But
fighters are very high quality, but the only difference being is one has gotten the chance to unify, and I think Bivol could come out victorious out of the rest of them.
it has the most
I
killers
think
out of
I
any
think I
division,
think I think
probably.
a, I think a leader would be the most highest ranked guy. He's right above Joe Smith Jr. I don't know who Salamov or Maslov are. I just don't. I
Yeah,
don't
me neither.
know. But yeah, Kovalev. I think Kovalev, if he got that belt again, if he fought a leader a third time, I don't think anybody's interested in that. I would. I guess I don't have any faith in Kovalev, but I would expect that he still has enough to beat Joe Smith Jr. But I maybe not.
Maybe
I
he could
really
cross
thought
over.
about it. Joe Smith Jr. to me was losing. I don't know. Well, it was all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
He is who he is.
What fight are you talking about?
Joe Smith Jr. His last fight.
I don't think I've seen it. Who was
Versus
it against?
Jesse Hart, I think, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Joe
okay.
Jr. was fighting hard, and he just destroyed him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that-
And who's that intangible?
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
who do you guys think is number
Hey,
one?
intangible. I wanted to ask you, what do you think of a breakdown of Ramirez versus Better Beef?
Ramirez versus Beterbiev. I mean, Ramirez, I haven't seen him fight in a long time. I think his last fight was on the undercard of Lomachenko versus Krolla on April
Yeah.
12th.
Hasn't he only fought like one time at 175?
When I watch Gilberto Ramirez, he's very tall. He has great range control. He has a good jab. I saw that fight, and I saw the Arthur Abraham fight where he just basically battered and washed Abraham. I would have to favor Beterbiev. I just don't see him having the physicality or him having fought anybody as crafty as Beterbiev with sort of underrated ring smarts and ring savviness.
Yeah.
I think
I didn't see his last fight. I saw the last one I saw of him was against Jesse Hart, that rematch. And he had a tough fight with him too.
Yeah, Jesse.
But- Yeah,
I mean, I think he still can get
that,
knocked
I
down.
think that would be a good fight.
I think Better Be will probably get knocked down in that fight. He's been knocked down just a couple hours.
Yeah, Dr. Mario is saying that he thinks that Ramirez's pace is too slow and that Bitterbeev's a monster. I think I can favor Bitterbeev comfortably in that fight, but I don't underrate Ramirez. I kind of like him. I just think he's been very inactive recently due to some contractual issues, I think.
For me, in order to beat a guy like a Beterbiev, you do have to be very fast. You do have to be able to get out of the way of his punches and use angles and things like that. I don't think Ramirez is just quick enough or good enough of an athlete to be able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's a good enough athlete, but one thing he does have, he does kind of have pressure, So he would be coming forward also, and if he's got a good chin and he can eat Better Beef shots, that has the potential to be a good ass fight.
Yeah, but it's gonna, his chin may not be the same against Beterbiev. I mean, Beterbiev's a guy who's knocked out all of his opponents, and Beterbiev's gonna break him down and go to the body. I mean, with him being so tall, Beterbiev just crouches down into that high guard and he'll just swing at his body. That's what I see.
Yeah, because Ramirez is pretty tall.
I mean, it could be
Yeah,
a different
he's
situation.
6'2".
I mean, it could
He's
be a
6'2".
Yeah, he's really tall. I think he's the tallest light heavyweight that's currently in contention, like top 10.
Probably. I
I don't
think
know.
because he's great.
Badu Jack is pretty tall.
Or no.
Badu Jack is pretty tall too.
Alexander Volstik is also really tall.
Vosnik, I think he's taller than all of them, to be honest. I think he's 6'3". And then from what I remember, Vosnik is
No, he's 6'2" and a half.
Ramirez is a
what-
big boy. He's a big boy. I mean,
What-
he's low for anybody, really, but he's he's a little bit plodding.
I think Volstik's a better
How
version.
tall is Badu Jack? Badu Jack is pretty tall
Jack
too,
is,
no?
he's 6'1".
Yeah,
He's
Mark
6'1".
Jack sacrifices his height though. He fights on the inside.
I think the same thing with Ramirez. I don't think he really fights on the outside. He kind of likes to be like this big pressure fighter almost.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
He has a pretty solid jab.
Yeah, I like his jab.
Yeah, I mean,
I
better be.
think if he had a jab, he would be his toolkit. I don't think would mesh together as well because he's this big lumbering guy, you know.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that'll be a good fight.
yeah, I think it'd be a good fight. But like I said, I think I'd have to favor Better Beef just because we haven't seen anybody like push him back like that, you know. And Tangible brought up that he's 15-15 with 15 wins, 15 KOs. So
I mean, with how bad Joe Smith made Jesse Hart look, that kind of shows how Gilberto Ramirez's performances in both fights against Hart were, that kind of made it a little bit, less, with how Joe Smith performed against the same guy. Dominated him.
yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's what I said. His performance wasn't as good.
I feel you. So
Yeah.
Kovalev, and I mean, I like Kovalev. I think he's, a prime Kovalev probably beat everybody at the weight class right now because he's pretty quick. He's got good power. He can't even make the weight anymore, as Dr. Mario pointed out. But yeah, I just don't see him beating the guy. I think he better be battering him.
That would have been a good fight, man. Prime
would you go-
Kovalev?
Yeah,
been
probably
good.
Kovalev, like in one fight.
No, I didn't see. I'm like I don't remember this destruction. I remember Jesse Hart looking like crap, and it also being like a weirdly close fight that Joe Smith pulled out at the end. I don't remember this. It wasn't like a split decision even.
It was a controversial decision from what I recall. With Joe Smith Jr. and Jesse Hart, that was a split decision for Joe Smith Jr. But I heard a lot of people thought Jesse Hart won. But I thought they both looked sloppy, and that was kind of
like they both looked terrible, right? I mean, I remember Joe Smith doing something that towards the end. I don't really remember the fight that well because it was just a slow fight week. But I remember that fight, me devaluing Joe Smith based on that fight, and actually devaluing both of them.
Yeah, that's a weird fight where they both lost on. Lisa Bales is asking, who do you guys think the best technician is at 175?
Bibble.
I think Bibel's probably got the best technique. I guess. I
don't know. Overall, maybe a leader. He's a pretty good boxer. But technician. I mean, it's hard to. Bivol.
Bibble has some pretty.
I'd probably give it to a leader.
I mean, Bibble has some pretty dominated performances. So, I mean,
like technician, as in like for having the fundamentals.
Yeah, like how
or like having more skills.
Probably Bibble boxing.
Yeah, probably Bibble.
I think you can make an argument for Bibble later. I like Later's boxing skills.
Yeah, I mean, he had a dominating performance. Who was it? Gene Pascal? Who was it?
Kovalev. He beat the shit out of Kovalev.
That wasn't like no dominating.
Yeah, but then Kovalev outboxed him in the rematch.
I know he did in the rematch. I'm just saying that fight he showed to me he showed all kinds of skills. He
was losing every round until the knockdown.
Right, but we're not talking about whether or not he's winning the fight. We're talking about skills. We're talking about technique.
I mean, that kind of plays a part into it. Maybe the part of setting up the shot. Maybe.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that I've saw some skills from Eliter Alvarez that I haven't seen from the other guys. I'm just talking about overall just fundamentals, What
Like what do you mean? What do you mean?
That's how
I mean,
crap.
honestly, I just seen him like pose. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know he has more skills than what he lets on in some cases, but in some instances, he was very, very timid, and I just didn't like the way he was flowing. Like, yeah, technique wise, you can be the best you can, but it all has to play in the factor of into a fight because a person can look great in sparring, but don't look great in a fight. And I didn't think Alita looked all that great. He just had a perfect shot. But I mean, he did win. I mean, I guess that's the end of the day, he did win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought Kovalev looked impressive in the rematch. I thought he won basically every round. What do you guys think about do you guys think Beterbiev is old? Because I think he's only 1 year younger than Kovalev, and people are calling Kovalev really old, but like Beterbiev is.
He's
They
30.
say that because he just lost. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm
You
thinking.
gotta play somebody.
Also because Kovalev's had the shit beat out of him a couple of times and he drinks.
Yeah, I think that drinking mostly makes him seem like he aged a little more. Beterbiev, I know they both
Yeah,
had really extensive amateur careers.
Yeah, I agree. They're saying that because he lost, but if he would have beat Canelo, they would have been like Kovalev is back. You know?
Yeah,
I wouldn't have said
probably.
that. I wouldn't have said that at all. I would have said that Canelo tried to cherry pick and it went wrong. I wouldn't have been like Kovalev's back, not at all. I thought that fight would have come
No,
down
not
to
you.
division.
I don't think that's a cherry pick, bro. I
Not
mean,
you. But
it's not
Yeah, I
Beterbiev,
don't think
but
it's
that's. I mean, he wasn't
that is
unified
not
when
a
the fight
cherry pick.
happened. He wasn't unified when the fight happened, so that's not really considered a cherry pick.
You can't
What?
go up 2 weight classes and
Okay,
fight a
let me
champion and
clarify.
be called.
Let me clarify. He wasn't unified when the fight at least was negotiated.
Yeah, I know, but you can't go up 2 weight classes and fight a champion, a top 3 guy, and call that a cherry pick. That's nah.
I mean, well,
You don't do that.
technically one because I think he fought like 2 times at
Yeah.
168.
If you have your choice between all 3 guys and you pick the weakest of the guys, then yeah, that is a cherry pick.
But the other 2
No,
guys
no.
are already.
Well,
the
I
other 2
mean,
guys were already
No,
signed.
no,
Like,
no,
like,
no, no.
Kovalev was the most proven guy out of all those 3.
he's the most proven and the biggest name, and I honestly thought he won the personality award.
He's
Fight.
he's still the more proven guy, but that doesn't mean anything. You see how
I mean,
how
yeah,
much more proven he is?
it kind of does because
But he's still the
I
most
mean,
proven guy and he doesn't even have a belt yet. I mean, he still doesn't have a belt. Like,
No, that's
it kind of does, bro. Because
that,
if you never
no, that,
okay, unless you're just talking about I've seen the chinks in your armor and you got knocked out before, then yeah. But those other fighters haven't proved that yet. Unless you like those fighters haven't proved like as far
Beterbiev,
as
Kovalev had 1 belt at the time Canelo faced him.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know what you're talking
they
about.
were already signed to fight. I don't think he could just suddenly swoop up and fight either of those 2.
Yeah.
you know what? Just like last time when I was telling you, get the smoke. You know, it would have been the same thing if Spence would have moved up to fight Triple G. 2 weight classes. That wouldn't have been a cherry pick on Spence. You know what I mean?
No, because Triple G was the best at 160. Because
Triple G was the best at 160 though.
Yeah, he was
that
literally the
doesn't-
best. It would have been different if he would
No,
have.
I'm talking about now. If Spence wouldn't have gotten in a car accident and he would have fight Triple G right now, then his next fight, if he wouldn't have gotten in a car accident, would that be a cherry pick?
No, but the thing is, it would have been like if he fought Andrade, though.
No, it would be like Triple G because it's a person who people perceive as this guy who formerly was the man of the division, and he's no longer the guy of the division, but he still has a belt.
But
it would be like.
the issue is the other 2 guys haven't shown that they're actually better than Triple G. Neither Charlo nor Andrade have shown that they could beat Triple G. Right. So the issue and what the problem with your analogy is that that's why I keep saying stop saying Triple G. But you want to keep making the Spence Triple G thing just to make your point. And I'm telling you, it's a flawed comparison.
Okay, well,
okay, so let's just move on real quick. Let's say
I'm telling you how it's flawed because Triple G was the best one. Triple G is still, if he's not, is number 2. He's a number 2 ranked. He's a number 2. Right, he's a number 2 guy right now. He's not. But Triple G has only lost to Canelo Alvarez. Everybody else is getting knocked the hell out and all that stuff. At the time that Kovalev, at the time that
Well, you
Canelo
can
fought
argue he
Kovalev.
lost to you can
Kovalev
argue he
had
lost
just
to
come life
Lomachenko.
and
You want to
he
yeah.
just come life and death with Anthony Yard. He had already been knocked out by Leader Alvarez and Andre Ward. This has not happened to Triple G. He's just past his prime. That's all it
Didn't
is.
he just go life and death with Derenchenko?
With Derevyanchenko?
Yeah, he went to, yes, and Derenchenko's
Yeah,
a
he
hell
went.
of a fighter. And Derenchenko's a hell of a fighter.
And
Anthony Yard, like what's Anthony Yard done to show that he's a hell of a fighter?
he's a young, hungry fighter in his prime.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't.
Definitely. I didn't say that he wasn't young and hungry, but that's moving the goalpost. What I
just
said
think
was,
I just think
what I'm
it's kind
saying,
of
Derenchenko is a proven, at least title challenger. Anthony Yard is not that.
No, well, you're going too much into detail. We're
No, I'm telling you why
going
you're
into
comparing.
connect.
I know.
Hold
I
on,
know.
hold on,
You're making
hold
a
on,
very
hold on.
facetious
Well,
argument for your comparison.
No,
It's not a good comparison.
Look, get this.
No, because
Answer the question.
Kovalev was a 3 guy when the fight was made. Kovalev was a champion and a top 3 guy when the fight was made. If the fight now with Spence and Triple G would be a top 3 guy in his
That's
division.
fine.
And
That's
it's
fine.
around the same age.
Right now, the middleweights are a lot more accomplished than those light heavyweights. So I get it that you're talking about a division to division thing, but the comparison fails because Canelo is an all-time great Hall of Famer. Triple G is an all-time great Hall of
But we're
Famer.
not talking about.
Right. So that's what I'm telling you. I'm saying Kovalev is.
Well,
Kovalev is, but Kovalev
okay,
is the guy.
hold on.
Guys, Kovalev is fine, but Kovalev is past his prime. Way past his, more so past his prime than Triple G.
Yeah, they're not that far off in years.
They're not that far off.
Right, because Triple G. When did Triple G get knocked out?
No, stop.
He never got knocked out. That's
exactly,
not,
never did. So how many times did Kovalev
I'm not
get
saying
knocked
it's a perfect analogy.
So wait.
Great. So
So-
that's all I'm saying. It's not a good analogy. That's all. That's my
No,
only
it's
point. It's not a good analogy.
That is a perfect analogy. You're
Perfect.
trying to put in all these little details to make it not a good analogy.
No.
No.
These details matter. Triple G is not faded like Kovalev. He has not had the career knocked out of him like Kovalev has.
Yeah, faded.
Okay,
That's a perfect word for it.
Just answer this question for me. Is it not a fair comparison? Like, I get it's not a perfect comparison, but do you get the point where if Spence went up and fought a champion at middleweight, like, let's not even say Triple G, you get how that wouldn't be a cherry pick? I don't get how you can cherry pick. Okay, and if you want to do the semantics, I thought he won the first Andre Ward fight. Many people did. He lost the second fight via knockout, but it was kind of weird because, Andre Ward doesn't
It was
fight
controversial.
Yeah, and then you have him losing to Alvarez, even though he's outboxing. He just got caught. They're bigger guys. That'll happen. And he outboxed him every round. And then he was fighting Ward, and he knocked him out with a jab. And he went to war with him, but that was mostly because he just got caught again, right? If you want to talk about,
I can perfectly understand.
I got you.
Look,
you guys,
let me piggyback off you, IBT. I can perfectly understand why you wanted him to take Better Beef or Bivol. I would have wanted that as well. The fact of the matter is, Kovalev, at the end of the day, still came off when he came back to fight, he came off a win off Alida Alvarez, which he lost to, making him a five. Wait. Okay, before that, he was a 5-time champion, and he avenged his loss to Alida Alvarez. So at the end of the day, this guy did avenge his loss. Unless you want to say something like, well, I don't generally believe he was better. That's another case. I don't think that makes him necessarily a cherry pick because he's the only 5-time champion. I think right now. That if you look,
okay, I think you guys are missing what I'm saying, and I've said it several times.
We heard you. You said it wasn't a good comparison.
No, but what I'm talking about is why it's a cherry pick. Not what you're saying. That's fine. You heard that part.
Yeah, but
what I'm saying why it is a cherry pick is because of the 3 champions, he was the weak one. That is why. That is the only reason why. It's fine for legacy. It's all this other stuff. It's fine. Phenomenal. Great.
Hold on. But you can't.
There's not a
You
time
can't
limit
say
on
that
it.
because Canelo.
It doesn't make.
You can't say that because Canelo was not campaigning at 175.
Great.
He went up 2 weight classes.
Yes, that proves my point.
If Canelo had like 2-3 fights, if Canelo had like 2-3 fights at a 175, then he picked Kovalev, then maybe a cherry pick. But he came up 2 weight classes.
Hey, look,
that has nothing to do with whether or not it's a cherry pick.
as much as I like,
Many cherry picks.
Here, let me say this.
Cherry pick means you are picking a guy because you feel like you have the best chance to beat that guy versus other guys. It has nothing to do with how long you've been at the weight class or none of that other shit. It is literally, here is my chance. If I want a belt at this weight, what is my best shot for getting it?
No, because you can't. Look. Let me say this.
Okay.
Let me say this. You can't just use that because
Let me ask you this: what fighter is gonna pick a guy that thinks he can beat him? I'm gonna pick this guy because I think he can beat me. Nobody does. You always pick fighters that is gonna give you a good challenge.
I mean,
and you're gonna fight.
Look,
You know?
the fact of the matter is,
whatever. All I'm saying is, regardless if that's your thing, if you think all fighters cherry pick to a certain extent and you're making this argument, that's fine. That our argument, all fighters cherry pick.
I never said fighters cherry pick.
Well, that's what you just said.
No, wait. Let me say this. Let me say this. I got a good argument for man.
Yeah, when two weight
if you're going to say,
okay,
two weight classes higher, yeah.
I got a good argument for that. Okay, the fact of the matter is, if you're going to say that he was the weakest of the champions, how can you really say that if Bivol and Vostok had less time to prove themselves? They didn't fight the competition that Kovalev did. He had more time to prove himself. So how is he the weakest of the champions? Unless you want to.
I believe I've said it several times because he was already faded, already knocked out. No, you forgot Better Be, but whatever. I think that. I didn't
forget that. I didn't.
I mean, you just said Vostok and Bivol. So I'm just saying Better Be was also a guy.
Oh, okay. You're right.
That's all I'm saying is that that of the champions, that Kovalev was seen as the vulnerable guy, and even right now, even before Canelo, like Kovalev versus any of those other guys, you would have favored the other guys because of the attrition that he's had over his career, his Hall of Fame career.
Okay, so let me put in an analogy. If Errol Spence, you remember when Errol Spence was calling out Miguel Cotto at a certain point when he was a prospect?
No.
You don't. Okay, well, at a certain point he did. You think if he moved up and fought Cotto when he was a champion, that would be a cherry pick?
Probably.
Okay, fine. That's your opinion.
It's weird to me because the only reason I say this is weird to me, right? If you were saying that was a cherry pick and this is a cherry pick, I'm like, okay, at least he's consistent with how he says it. But when you want to talk about Jamal Charlo not fighting anybody reputable at the weight or not fighting Andre, you want to say, whoa, give him a chance. He moved up one division. It took him 3 years to acclimate to the weight. You know, he needs to prove himself. But with Canelo, he moves up too, knocks out a sitting champion, the most proven champion, the Hall of Fame career champion, and one who has defeated a young lion who's hungry, avenged his rematches, and the only person who he's lost and never beat as a professional was Andre Ward, and he arguably beat him in the first fight, right? You expect
okay. I'll tell you where your analogy falls flat. Is that Charlo was
not an analogy.
No, but I'm saying your comparison of Charlo to how you're saying that my energy, it doesn't change, but my energy is different for Charlo than it is for Canelo. And what I'm saying is where your analogy falls short is that Charlo did try to fight the best in the division. He didn't just single out one guy and say, this is the guy I'm going to fight. As a matter of fact, what you're talking about is him fighting Andrade, a guy who also is not proven in the division.
So you think if Charlo moved up to fight
What?
So if Charlo
was a WBC mandatory, he was Triple G's WBC mandatory. He was trying to fight him then. He stayed in the WBC to try to fight Canelo, but they franchised him. But he was a WBC mandatory. Well, he's interim, so he wasn't the mandatory then. But anyway, he was a WBC guy. He was trying to fight Triple G as a WBC guy. He was trying to fight Canelo as a WBC guy.
But what about Charlo?
And get this smoke. Even like what you was mentioning, maybe it was you or maybe it was somebody else. No, it was Dan the Man. What he was saying earlier was the perfect example of rating a fighter. He said at the same time he was talking about Triple G being a Hall of Famer and Triple G being ducked by certain fighters. just because Charlo was duck doesn't mean he has the credit just because he's duck. The fact of the matter is he doesn't have the top level competition that he beat.
No, but wait, I'm not talking about duck. We're talking about cherry picking versus Charlo. You're saying that I
know
said
that.
Canelo's a cherry picker, but why don't I say Charlo's a cherry picker? And I'm saying because Charlo actually tried to fight the best in the division, whereas Canelo picked the weakest champion. I told you when, man. Like,
okay,
you can't say that. You can't say who they wanted to fight, who didn't they fight. It's all actions. What's on the resume? Anybody can say, "Oh yeah, I wanted to fight this guy. Oh, I wanted to fight this guy. I wanted to fight this guy." But at the end of the day, who has they fought? What's on paper? What's the resume?
I got a question.
Yeah.
What guy?
I got you.
Face that was as good as the Eliter Alvarez victory for Kovalev between Bivol
Like even if
leading up to the negotiations.
What did you say?
Which guy did Better Biev and Bivol beat before the Canelo Kovalev negotiations that was as good as Eliter Alvarez?
We already talked about that. He was saying that the reason he didn't feel Kovalev was, is in a sense the best pick Canelo could have chosen as far as competition base was because he got knocked out before. That's what he said.
He was beaten as a fighter. You guys keep saying, you guys keep going back to this whole thing about Kovalev's bona fides as though that is the issue. The issue is not whether or not he is a legitimate champion. He was a legitimate champion. The issue is not whether or not it's a legacy builder. It's a legacy builder because of the work that Kovalev put in. However, the work he put in also faded him. So at that point, he wasn't the best champion. He was the most accomplished champion. He had fought all these fights.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me ask you this. So instead of Canelo fighting Kovalev, what about if it would have been Jamal Charlo? Would that be a cherry pick? Jamal Charlo versus Kovalev. Exact same situation.
Jamal Charlo versus Kovalev?
Correct.
If Jamal Charlo went up to fight Kovalev, would that be a cherry pick?
Yeah,
correct.
That's the exact question.
If that's it, if all he went up there was to fight Kovalev, he wasn't trying to campaign at 175. He just went up there to fight Kovalev. Yes, that's a cherry pick. Yes, that's a cherry pick.
I'm just asking you a simple question.
Yeah, that's a cherry pick. Yeah, of course it is. Like that's all. Listen,
I disagree.
If Mikey Garcia, if all Mikey Garcia wants to do, right? Let's say, no, forget Mikey Garcia. Devin Haney.
No, we're talking about Jamal Charlo.
No, let me ask this. Wait.
Devin Haney moved up to fight only Pacquiao, right? He doesn't want to fight Terrence Crawford. He doesn't want to fight Errol Spence. All he wants to fight is Pacquiao. And everybody says, well, you know what? Pacquiao's a money guy and Pacquiao's a legacy guy. And so how do you cherry pick? He's a cherry pick because Pacquiao is seen as the weakest champion. Now, do you get it?
He has his opinion on what cherry picking means. Basically, he's picking the weakest guy, the lowest risk guy. I mean, that's fine. That's what he thinks. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think that goes up to my standard of what a cherry pick is, because what I think a cherry pick is a guy who's a low risk.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. I don't think you have the right word. I think you just made up a definition for a word that you like. A cherry pick, that's not what a cherry pick is.
No, listen, I'll tell you exactly what's happening. I get where you guys are coming from with your definition of cherry pick, and I'm not necessarily saying that you are wrong. What I'm telling you is, when you go back to these guys' legacies and you go through these guys' fights, you start to hear things like, yeah, he fought this guy, but he fought a faded guy. Or he fought this guy who had a belt, but the better guy was this other guy. And what you get is there's some guys over a few different fights that a pattern will emerge, right? And the Rocky Fielding fight, the Kovalev fight, these to me are showing a pattern emerging. And it depends on not only that. Say again.
I thought we already debunked the whole Rocky Fielding thing.
No, you just put it in context. You think that because he's a DAZN and he's moving up, that means all of a sudden he wasn't cherry picking a champion. I get your context. That's fine. That doesn't absolve him from cherry picking a champion.
But I don't think because you're saying cherry picking, you said your guys' definition, but cherry picking has a definition. That's a word. That's a thing. It's a thing.
Right, I got it. And part of that is you take the lowest risk competition. It's a low risk competition. I mean, low risk pick. But sometimes you don't get a low risk pick. Sometimes you're so high in the game that even the lowest risk is still a high risk.
So you're saying you hold them to a different, better standard then? Is that
No,
what
I'm
you're saying?
I'm saying the same thing with that. I'm saying that the same way that Wilder gets called out for cherry picking Luis Ortiz, who is still a high risk fight. That is what I'm saying. At a certain point, all of your options are going to be high risk. But if you choose what is perceived to be the lowest of those guys, the lowest risk of those high risk opponents, then what you'll get accused of is cherry picking.
But see, the thing
Yeah,
about
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I looked up cherry pick. So it says cherry pick. The definition is choose and take only the most beneficial or profitable items, opportunities from what is available.
yeah,
Right.
that's
So I get
the word.
yeah, I get what he's saying. So,
It's fine,
what's
guys.
available?
Like
Hold on. He's saying what's available. So to Canelo Alvarez at 160, he doesn't just have the 175 available. He has 168 and 160. So out of all those, I don't think Kovalev was the less available.
Okay. Okay. So do you think that Rocky Fielding was the hardest fight at 168? Or was that the hardest champion? I literally said two things. Okay, so great. So I got it. So what? So we're gonna concede that Rocky Fielding wasn't that, right? He wasn't the hardest champion at 168, right?
Yeah.
So there's one. Great. So now we can put that out.
Let me answer. Let me answer. So you're saying Rocky Fielding was not the best opponent he could have picked, right?
I said the best champion.
Okay, the best champion, but at the same time, he could have picked somebody. He has people that were available that were less. So it's a broad availability that he has. He wasn't the best, and he wasn't the lowest.
Great. I believe I've been very clear in my.
Can I put something out there?
I believe I've defined my terms.
Wait,
I said it is the least available.
Here, it's probably to that point where we're just not going to change your mind. I'll just put this out there, though. The fact of the matter is, if you're going to mention Rocky Fielding as ranked, or he was this, or he beat this guy, it's probably not going to really matter today because it wasn't really nobody. It's probably not going to be enough to justify the argument. What I can say is, when it comes to boxing, and if you want people to legitimately listen to you and treat you as like a legitimate source, that hey, my opinion is valid. And it's not just based on like me being biased or how I have a favorite fighter. You have to be fair. Just looking at boxers when it comes to boxers, I know legitimately if they're at the top of their game and they're not just at the bottom trying to get to the top, or they're not a cash cow, they're not going to fight the best competition always moving up. They usually take a soft touch. I don't necessarily consider that cherry picking. Because it's like just like we live in a day and age where it's easy to say, hey, this person duck person, this person. I don't think it's necessarily so easy to say people duck people. I try to be fair. Yeah, I might have my ways about it. I'll be like, hey, you should have fought this top 168 guy. You should have fought Benavidez in your first fight. But I know that's not fair. That's the way I think. I think generally you have to separate your points, your values from like being fair.
I understand. I get all of that, and I'm with you about I don't use duck as often as people use duck because just the way that the word is. I've grown up with the word, but it's the same thing with cherry picking. And like I'm saying, it's also the same thing as criticizing these all-time great things. Like what Floyd is actually accused of is doing exactly what I'm accusing Canelo of that. And that is picking and choosing which champions he's going to fight, and when there's tougher fights that other people would like to see. And I'm saying it's a knock on Floyd's legacy, and the same way it's a knock on Floyd's legacy. For some reason, the same analogy is I'm getting a lot of pushback for Canelo, and I don't understand that. So instead of saying, let me just finish my thought. So instead of comparing Canelo to Charlo, why don't you try comparing Canelo to Floyd?
Because
so what about Charlo? What about all of Charlo's competition at 160? Are all those cherry picks? All the fighters he's fought at 160? Since there's their availability.
All of his fights at 160, most of them I would say are cherry picks. Yes.
Most of them. Which one do you think is not a cherry pick?
I don't think Corrball was a cherry pick. I think Corrball was a last minute replacement, and he was a tougher opponent than he was expecting.
You think William Monroe was?
Say again?
You think Willie Monroe was?
Willie Monroe, I think, is a cherry picking. Well, I think he's a developmental fight. He's like a step up fight, a tune up kind of fighter.
You're saying he's a gatekeeper. You're saying.
Yeah, like kind of like he's a gatekeeper to some extent. But for a Charlo, yeah, I think Charlo would. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Okay, then we came to a conclusion.
Yeah, we came to the conclusion that most fighters, all of their fights are cherry picks. That's the conclusion.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. I don't think that. That's fine. That's fine that you guys are saying that just because Charlo is that. But I don't think that all fighters are
cherry picking.
We
are in the era of cherry picking.
Yeah, so,
definitely.
Fighters for.
yeah. So the thing is, so let me get this straight. A fighter that does not fight the top best champion is cherry picking.
Okay, listen. If you are going to call yourself going through divisions, right? And instead of fighting the best guys in those divisions, picking out one guy and then vacating those things, then yeah, you're going to have to answer the cherry picking question.
And LA Raider, I don't think he's going fight to fight. I think you got to look at that and say over like an 8-fight span. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think.
Oh, what's up, Black and Brown? I didn't even see you down there.
Oh, what's up, guys?
What's up, Black and Brown?
I've been here for a while. I've been here for a while, just listening.
Oh, my bad. I'm not even looking at the phone. I heard your voice right now. All right, cool.
It's all good.
Cool.
IBT just brought me in the back door.
All right, cool,
hey,
man.
Guys, no, but
yeah,
look, man, like, hey, I remember this conversation from last night, and I don't know. I just don't disagree all the way with Get the Smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand what he's saying to some extent. And I think that LA Raider, you keep going like bringing up Charlo, but that's the mistake. Like Canelo can't be compared to any boxer in the game right now. I think maybe the only one you can compare to Canelo right now is probably AJ or Terrence Crawford, maybe Loma. But Canelo is such on a different level, bro, that when we talk about Canelo, we can't even bring up Charlo or Andrade or anybody else.
Black and Brown,
career. They're just not. There's like there's different.
I just want to bring them up because
I wasn't trying to.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to debate with. No, I'm not. I wasn't trying to debate with. Get to Smoke. I'm just trying to see what his definition of cherry picking is. I'm trying to put out a lot of scenarios so I can see like how he defines that, you know. That's what I was doing. But
yeah,
it's
and
consistent.
And you know, I can't really speak for Get the Smoke, but I'm on record by saying this: in the era of cherry picking, okay, Canelo's doing it better than anybody else by miles. And look, guys, if they're all picking from the same cherry tree, Canelo's picking out champions. If you want to call it that, then call it that. He's picking out champion after champion at the end. He is creating a legacy for himself, man. And you can call it a cherry picking, whatever. But at the end, when it's said and done, he's going to have champion after champion after champion and belt after belt on that legacy and on that resume. So
let me just say,
I've called it cherry picking too, guys. So
hey, Black and
I'm
Brown.
not going to disagree.
Black and Brown. Black and Brown, let me ask you a question real quick. If Canelo doesn't go to 175 no more, right? Just say he stays at 160 and 168. What fight would be a cherry pick for Canelo? If he
I think,
would not be. I mean, would not be a cherry
honestly,
pick.
Honestly, he's ran through him, bro. Honestly, he's ran through him. Once he gets BJ Sanders out the way, then he gets Triple G out the way. Then it's just, bro, there's no more cherry picks left. It's going to be Plant. It's going to be Smith. It's going to be Charlo. It's going to be Andre.
You still got Murata out there. You still got Murata, like, you know.
Let me
throw in a Murata. If he could throw a Murata in there, you know, that's all right. He throws a Murata in there in the middle. If he fights Andre and then fights Murata,
can I talk about that whole thing? You're saying, oh, that's okay, you can throw Murata in there. But when you threw Rocky Fielding in there, for some reason that's the talk of the town in this debate. When what I was trying to say with the whole Rocky Fielding thing, I wasn't just putting it in context. I was kind of explaining why he would have a lighter touch. And I just think it's not super unreasonable to think a fighter moving up, maybe not challenging the strongest fighter, right? Let's not even call him a champion. If you don't want to do that, we won't call him a champion. But he was a top 10 opponent at the weight class above after going to back-to-back war with Triple G. No one is going to talk about Canelo's career and go, oh, yeah, he beat Triple G, you know, this many times, and he fought Jacobs, and he beat him, and he knocked out Kova after going up 2 weight divisions. You know, he fought Rocky Fielding, that Canelo, this guy sucks. I just think it's very unfair criticism. And the only reason we bring up Charlo is because Get This Smoke. We had a debate last time where he's talking about Charlo and Andre and how they're in different parts of their career for some reason, and this and that. And he's talking about how we need to let Charlo develop, but Canelo's not allowed to develop because he's already ahead.
I didn't say that. I don't say that Carlos.
Well, let me ask
I didn't
you,
say that Canelo couldn't develop. I
IBT.
didn't say that he couldn't develop. What my issue, my point is that he's getting accolades that I think are questionable, just the same way that Pacquiao got accolades that are questionable. Because at this point, he's saying that he's a 3-weight champion, and no one's had a 3-weight champion. But really, when you bear down on it, you see that the championship is a WBA regular that he got off Rocky Fielding. Like
which Get The Smoke,
as a move up fight for a division.
We talk about Rocky Fielding. Since IBT brings up Rocky Fielding and you bring up Rocky Fielding, right? Let me ask you guys this: what was Rocky Fielding? Rocky Fielding was basically a tune-up or a pass, a soft touch, right? That's what he was. After 2 wars with Triple G, he was a soft touch for Canelo, right? But exactly back to my point. Look what Canelo's pulling out for his soft touches. Champions. Even though he wasn't a real champion, he was still a champion. He was still a belt holder. So
that's what I'm trying to, and that's the asterisk that I'm trying to put. So like we as boxing fans should be able to discern whether or not the guy is the WBC champ or the IBO champ, and not just say because he is a champ, they're all the same thing. Because we as the purists shouldn't be out there. I'll tell you why.
It's not the same thing. Get the smoke, but in the situation, you got to think that was a soft touch fight. But he was still a champion.
I'll tell you what I'm saying. I'll tell you how.
So we're not going to give him credit for taking out a champion at 168, but we're going to give him credit for taking out somebody relevant in 168 as a soft touch.
Yeah, but he wasn't relevant. But that's what I'm saying. He wasn't relevant. He wasn't.
How can he not be relevant if he's holding a belt?
That's because he's holding the WBA because he's holding the WBA regular. That's how. And if you want to look at the WBA rankings, what you'll see is there's littered of guys that you wouldn't consider top 10 within the top 10.
Okay, so can we like see like are we gonna find like actually talk about who do you see as the top one in 175 since it was on that division last?
I think we were saying that they need to fight it out. At this point, you'd have to say Better Beef is the big dog, but Bivol, I think I wouldn't be mad if somebody favored him in the fight against Bivol, but Better Beef is the man to beat.
Yeah, considering he's unified, he has more belts he's beaten. He probably has the best victory out of any of the champions right now. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I like the Pascal's not a bad victory, but yeah, the Vostick, especially coming off of the, regardless of what Vostick looked like in that fight, that Stevenson fight was nice. I mean, you can't praise him enough.
Yeah, I mean, he did pretty well in that fight. Yeah, I'd say Better Be is the big dog of the division. I mean, but it's not. It's a division that's wide open. That's what I'll really say between the two.
What do you guys think about Canelo in that division?
I could see him possibly beating Better Be. I don't see him beating Bivol.
Do you see him beating Vostick?
I think so.
Well, I mean, if Vostick tires out in that fight, I could see Canelo possibly beating him because Vostick had problems with his stamina. So maybe.
I think I'll tell you this much. I think Canelo versus anybody at 175. I think Vegas would have Canelo as the favorite. Not by a lot, but I think he would be the favorite.
Raider, do you want to see Canelo in 175, Raider?
I do.
Hell yeah. I want to see him fight anybody that's at top level. Doesn't matter. 160, 168, 175. Doesn't matter, But I think his weight I think his weight would probably be his weight.
I mean, I think 175 has the most killers out of any division. So I mean, I would just like 175 is where it's at, man. You beat Kovalev, so just go ahead and fight. I mean, don't pull Andre.
IBT.
What's up?
Hey, what do you think about Canelo 175?
I think he has a good chance. I think I wouldn't necessarily say he's the favorite over everyone, but he has a good skill set. I think he moved well at the weight, and I think the more he fights it, the only more he'd get acclimated. I think Bivol is probably his biggest challenge, slightly ahead of Beterbiev just because of styles. But even then, Bivol's he's pretty undersized for the division, and I think Canelo could maybe hurt him to the body, or if he dodges punches. I mean, we haven't seen Bivol in there with someone of that caliber. He's kind of just beating all these guys who are like second tier. He doesn't have a Volstick win, but he has a Joseph Jr., Jean Pascal, Barrera. So these are good names, but they're not quite top echelon fighters at 175. I think his most difficult fight would be Bivol, but he's undersized for the division, so we'd have to see how those two would go off. But I'd rather see him at 160 first to be undisputed, and then move up to 168.
Yeah, my opinion on Canelo at 175, I really don't care to see him at 175. I'd rather see him clean up 160 and 168, and he can do that for the rest of his career, and I'd be happy with that. I don't know. I don't like him at 175. Like, man, honestly, if I'm speaking as a Canelo fan, like, I'm kind of scared for him to be at 175. He's undersized for 168.
Yeah, so, I'm saying, like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I like him at 168. I like him to clean up 160, clean up 168, and go. If he can do that, he can go. In the books as one of the greatest Mexican boxers ever. But if I just don't think he has to play around at 175. I just don't see why. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already proved what you were trying to prove when you got the belt at 175, and I don't think he should be there. But that's my opinion.
75.
I agree with Black and Brown. I wouldn't mind seeing him clean up the 160, then 168. I wouldn't mind that. But if you ask me if I would like to see him at 175, like as a fight, Beterbiev, I think anybody here would want to watch that fight, Beterbiev versus Canelo. I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure everything
was a bit stiff at the weight class. I don't think at other weight classes, he doesn't have fast feet, but at least his feet are more effective and more of a factor. I mean, at 175, he looks a bit stiff. And
yeah, that's because he gained a shitload of weight.
Come to him.
Yeah, I don't like Canelo's size too much. Canelo's height worries me sometimes.
I don't know what the ring top 10 is, but the box rec top 10, you got Joe Smith Jr. coming at 10, Badu Jack, Marcus Brown, John Pascal, Vodzdik, Ramirez, Eliter, Beterbiev, Kovalev, and Bivol, right? So he knocked out of Kovalev. I think that I would favor Canelo over Joe Smith. I'd like to see the Badu Jack fight. I think he beats Marcus Brown. I'd like to see the Pascal fight, but I would favor him to beat Pascal. I'd like to see the Vozdek fight. I'd have to see the Ramirez fight. I'd have to see the Eliter fight. I'd have to see the Bivol and the Beterbiev.
And have to, you mean?
So who's the best out of all of them?
For me to say that Canelo is better than that guy at 175, I'd have to see those fights in order to say that. I can't just,
I would definitely think he's better than Ramirez. I just don't see Ramirez being able to beat him.
It's just Ramirez is the biggest shit. I feel like Canelo is definitely way more skilled, and Ramirez is definitely a little bit robotic and a little bit one-dimensional for Canelo. Definitely, but Gilberto is a huge dude.
It's funny, man. You don't see stuff like this anymore. Like, in my opinion, you don't see stuff like this until you go way, way back. Because what fighter do you know can honestly say he's a favorite in almost 3 divisions? That is absolutely insane.
Hey, get the smoke. Did Roy Jones do that for a little while?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of good. There's been, yeah. I mean,
I'm sure.
There's been guys.
I think there was a lot of people that had doubts, but once they seen him actually move up, they was like, yeah, he's got it.
I mean, do you think? I mean, I think right now Loma would be favored at 135, 130, and 126. I don't think he can make 126 anymore, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can do the same thing about Canelo. He can at 154. I mean, it doesn't mean he'll make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Loma has tough fights waiting for him in every one of them divisions. I just started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Well, I'm saying in the sense that he's not actually in those divisions. Like he
Yeah,
fought most of his time at 160.
that's
Well,
my
okay,
point. Canelo's not really in 168, and he's not really in 175. He's just fought one guy in both of those divisions.
yeah, but
He's not even
technically,
trying to. He's not even trying to compete at 175. We're just
yeah, but
fantasying it up for for the
comparing that to
fans.
Lomachenko, he is trying to compete at 135. Like I'm saying, like
Yeah.
as a guy coming up and down in weight, he's not like necessarily can campaign at one division.
Yeah, no. So Loma is threatening to go down to 130, like after he does this whole undisputed thing. And I guess guys do that, but for me, I'd like to see guys go up, not go down. But whatever.
I mean, Whitaker did it. I mean, he was like, I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
he was too small for 154, but
Yeah, he's too small for 147. Yeah, like Oscar De La Hoya was dwarfing that dude. Like,
in 3 weight classes because you had middleweight. After Hagler left, you had 168. You had Lou London, Leonard, 175 with Virgil Hill who he beat, and Darash Michalczewski, who I believe he would have been favored against. So I think probably Hearns as well.
I mean, Armstrong was fighting at all three, like competing at all three. But like, the question is he actually competing in 3 weight classes? Because he's really only competing in 160. He just went up.
no. I said you rarely see a
No,
guy who's like the favorite in 3 weight classes, the favorite to beat
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
That
also, he's competing at 160 and 168 right now because he's fighting Billy Joe Saunders next. So
is he fighting Billy Joe Saunders? I've heard he's fighting Triple G.
no, he's fighting Billy
No,
Joe
he's
Saunders.
fighting
next.
BGS.
He has beat Billy Joe
It's
Sanders.
Billy
Yeah,
Joe and then Triple
168.
G. Triple G
I mean,
would be
I
after Billy Joe.
heard. I mean, I've heard this. I've heard it, and then I had heard this other about face about it. So the fight hasn't been announced officially, but I heard the same thing that you guys heard. First, I heard Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah,
and
well, I
after I heard that, I heard Triple G.
Yeah, and
No,
the only
it's
reason it
Billy Joe
hasn't been
Saunders
announced is
followed
because of the
up.
coronavirus.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I got it. Right, but if it was Triple G, you wouldn't be surprised because you heard it's Triple G too, just like I did.
What do you mean? Are you saying next is Billy Joe Saunders, and then following that match, no matter the victor, no matter who wins that, it would be Triple G because Triple G is at 160, not 168.
All right, so then that would have him competing in 2 weight classes, but favored in three to beat some top 10 guys.
He said that he would be a majority favorite. Like he is not the favorite probably against 1 or 2 people in those 3 divisions.
He'd be not favored
Correct.
against one. I think he is definitely the best at 160. Right? You wouldn't rate anybody above him at 160.
Yeah. So
Caleb Plant. So at 168, you got Billy Joe Saunders, Smith, Caleb Plant, and Benavidez. Is Canelo rated to beat more than Billy Joe Saunders? Do you beat him? You think is it more than 50-50 chance for him to beat Liam Smith?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Vegas definitely have Canelo.
Right. Right. So is it basically 50-50? Like is it 50-50 fight, or is it just Canelo like 55, 45?
Canelo because of
Well, are you hold on? Are you hold on, GTS? Are you talking about the odds, like Vegas odds, like putting your money, or you're talking about the fight?
I was actually just asking people's personal opinions, but I like the Vegas odds thing too. That works. Whatever it is you put it, that's fine. You can put whatever you want. I'm just wondering I just wondering if you think this is a 50-50 fight.
I would have to pick
Vegas odds
of John Ryder. Let's go down. Let me ask that question, but let's go down the panel. So I'll start, and then it'll be GTS, then Battle Rifle, then Black and Brown, then Intangible, then Raider. So for that fight, I think Canelo would have to be the favorite just because of Tom Smith's performance against John Ryder was very poor, and we already know that Canelo moves fine at 168. So now I get to Smoke. You go.
I don't know how Canelo moves at 168 because Rocky Fielding just looked horrible. It's just like there's nothing to be learned from me for Canelo at 168 from that fight. He looked totally undersized and like really like muscle bound a little bit. But just Rocky Fielding fought like Frankenstein. I don't know what I was supposed to glean from that. But anyway, I would say that I would favor Canelo over both Billy Joe Saunders and Liam Smith. I think that the other fights, I mean, if I see it's a zero-sum game instead of a game of percentages. I think both of those are 50-50, Caleb Plant or Canelo, based on what I've seen at 168. Like, you know.
Okay, cool. So now battle rifle. Battle rifle. Do you want to go, or I'll skip you, I guess.
Maybe he's on
we'll
mute. Are you on mute?
Yeah. We'll just go to black and brown. And we'll wrap up after. So black and brown, what do you think?
I think Canelo sweeps through 160, sweeps through 168, and has problems at 175. Has problems with Bivol. I think he can get past Better B, but I think Bivol's youth might give him problems. Bivol will hit the shit out of him, hit him too hard. I don't like that matchup for Canelo. I don't even want to see.
What about Pascal?
I couldn't give an educated answer enough on those guys, bro, to make to give a good answer, bro, because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you think is tangible?
Canelo versus Callum Smith at 168. So, honestly, Callum Smith, in my opinion, and I've always held this belief that Callum Smith is probably the most overrated fighter at 168.
Yep.
I mean, even before last performance, the guy doesn't have a good resume. His most notable victories are against a shot Hassan N'Dam and a shot George Groves. And
yep.
He looked good in the Hassan N'Dam fight, but in the George Groves fight, he didn't look very good and was getting outboxed before he got the stoppage.
Don't forget the shoulder injury.
Yeah, true. And Callum Smith is good at range, and he's good when he can fight you at mid-range and walk you down and use his size and jab. And he can go to the body, which he has a good body attack, but he doesn't really have respectable enough power to be able to keep Canelo off of him. He doesn't even really have great power in general. He has more so cumulative punching. And Callum Smith is very bad on the inside, as we saw in his last fight. He doesn't really handle inside fighting, which is what Canelo's good at very well. And he's not particularly great on defense. And he struggled with a good boxer in Groves. And I think Canelo should just be able to capitalize on Smith's flaws. And I see him probably winning. I don't really see him stopping Callum Smith. I see him winning by decision.
Okay, yeah, I can basically agree with most of that. All right, what about you, Raider? What do you think?
Yeah. I also agree with him. Callum Smith is probably the worst one out of all the four champions. Benavidez and Caleb Plant and Billy Joe. Yeah, and going back to the favorites, I think at 160, 168, and maybe just like you said, IBT, maybe two guys at a 175. I think Canelo would be the favorite, except for like two guys at 175 out of all three divisions. I looked up on Bovada, which is one of the biggest gambling sites on the internet, and Billy Joe Saunders is a plus 400, which means I don't know if you guys know about gambling. $100 gets you $400 if you put it on Billy Joe, and if you bet on Canelo, you would have to put $700 to win $100.
Yeah,
that's how big of a favorite Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, what about nobody's talking about Plant and Canelo and Benavidez and Canelo?
I posed the question as Callum Smith Canelo. I can say Canelo versus 168.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
I said I posed the question specifically against Callum Smith, but we can cover 168.
I mean, I think he beats probably just about everybody. I mean, Benavidez, good fight, but I still think Canelo will win that one. Caleb Plant too. I mean, anybody disagree?
No, I don't particularly disagree.
I don't.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'd like to see it. I feel like Canelo's skills. All right, he is the skilled guy. And I don't think that he's faced a guy as big and as strong as Benavidez. Like Rocky Fielding he was way bigger, but he didn't know how to use any of his size advantage. I think Benavidez knows how to use his size a little bit better than Rocky Fielding does. Also, Jacobs was the bigger guy too, but I don't think also he didn't really impose his better size either. I don't think he used his size very well either. I'd like to see that fight. Although I would favor Canelo, but I would definitely like to see that. And I really don't favor him against Caleb Plant. I think it's a 50-50.
Okay, so you say that matchup
What?
is even like Canelo.
Why is that? I like to hear breakdowns.
Because I think that I like Caleb. I like Plant's combinations. I think he's slick. I think he has decent power, and he's an excellent combination puncher. And I think he's the biggest, best fighter that Canelo could face out of those three guys. Out of the 160 and 168. I think Caleb Plant is the more technical, the slickest, and the style matchup. I think the style matchup is something I'd like to see. I think it makes it like a 50-50 fight.
I like to comment on the combination punching because as far as combination punches, Canelo is the best in the game, and he'll have to put those against Canelo's.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd like to see how that combination punches goes up against a guy who is defensively responsible and is also slick, because slick fighters give Canelo issues, and also he's still in his prime too.
How do you what do you think?
I'll talk about the Plant versus Canelo fight right now. I think the Plant is probably the toughest matchup for Canelo at 168. Do I think he'll win? Probably not. I mean, the thing with Plant is, while he is defensively responsible, he has good head movement. He does tend to fade late in fights, and I think Canelo has a good body attack, and he can wear him down. And also, he moves to his right too much. And I noticed that. Actually, no, he moved to his left too much. And I noticed that especially in his fight against Feigenbuch, where Feigenbuch just kept pulling back on his right hand. It was right there for him. Plant wouldn't hold his left hand up, and he'd be open for the shot. He just wouldn't throw it. It was there. He just wouldn't throw it. I think Canelo wouldn't let him get away with it. I think he'll probably be able to counter him, and he'll win either by late stoppage or by decision. I think Canelo. I mean, just looking at the guys Plant has fought, I just don't think he's proven enough. Uzcategui, not good. Who's his second best opponent? I mean, probably.
Beefy or
Mike Lee.
Porky Medina.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, with Caleb Plant,
Porky.
I think we answered the question you put on the screen. The Canelo versus the 168 champs, who would be the cherry pick? I think I would say the weakest champ would be Smith.
Yeah, and I mean,
like we said, just to answer your question, everybody said this already, but yeah, Smith.
Who wouldn't be a cherry pick then? Out of all of them, who wouldn't be a cherry pick?
Who wouldn't be a cherry pick?
Yeah.
It depends on who it is you're talking about is fighting them. Like, to a certain extent.
I'm talking about Canelo here.
Oh, for Canelo, who is not a cherry pick, I don't think either.
Yeah,
I don't think Billy Joe Saunders is a cherry pick. I don't think. I don't think any of them are cherry picks, because I think at this point, they all pose a threat to Canelo. But I think the one who poses the least threat to Canelo is Liam Smith.
Callum Smith.
Oh yeah, Callum Smith, his brother.
Callum.
Sorry. Yeah, his big. You're right. His brother.
You already know how Liam.
Whatever. The Smith boy, like whatever. It's him. It's him.
Yeah.
So who has the best resume out of? Oh my bad. I didn't tell you about my 168 champs.
Yeah.
Can I go next, or who's next?
Yeah. No, it's your turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Also, too, yeah, I was thinking, Callum Smith is for sure like the weakest from all four of them. The toughest fight would probably be Caleb Plant, for Canelo, but Caleb Plant hasn't really. I mean, he's won his last fights was a TKO, unanimous decision, unanimous decision, unanimous decision, unanimous decision, and unanimous decision. I don't see him KOing Canelo. Um, so I mean, I don't know. I think he beats everybody, and he would be the favorite for sure on all four of those champions. But Caleb would probably be the toughest, but Canelo would still win.
Do you guys what do you guys think about Caleb Plant not accepting the offer that they sent him?
I mean, I think he should have accepted it, but I mean, if he feels he's not ready, I mean, I can't. I mean, okay then. I mean, I would really love to see it though. Because,
Yeah.
I like to
Okay,
see
so
I like to see champions treated like champions and like not be forced into positions and all that stuff and have them been comfortable because if once you beat a champion, I want you should be able to have full bragging rights. You don't want to be like, oh,
yeah,
the guy had a bum leg or short turnaround or none of that or weight like that's just me.
man, if I was like taking over boxing, man, I would like you would only get like two soft touches and then that's it. I mean, I mean, wait. You know what? One soft touch, and then you got to fight another champ, something like that, because it's just too many getting around these belts, and like you have people fighting one time a year. I just can't. Nah, like
yeah.
you get one.
I really
They should
disapprove of
they should Yeah, you know what? I've been saying for years, man. They need to have some type of a playoff for all these belts. You know what I mean?
They
The
should.
NBA, the fucking
It's kind of like what
basketball.
the WBS.
Yeah,
Huh?
boxing is one is the most crooked sport ever. Where it's just so many different sanctioning bodies, so many different people governing the belts or like in the fight taking place here. It's such a corrupt sport that it's like no balance in between. Like I really wish they could come together. Like we have to literally worry about people fighting on this side of the street. Like what the freak is that? Like come on. Like
Yeah,
I think that the World Series of Boxing, World Boxing Super Series, sorry, not the World Series of Boxing, but the World Boxing Super Series, is one of the best ideas to come along the
yeah,
long time in boxing. And if they could figure that stuff out, like those fat zone contract, like if you could get like $100 million tournament for the heavyweights or something like that, like I think stuff like that would help out a lot because
it
boxing
would
is
kind
still
of be
one of
a mess too
because
if you think
because
about it.
because of its nature. Like boxing is the most pure example of capitalism that we have in sports,
Yes.
and as a result, maybe some of we may not get in the same kind of boxing that we've become accustomed to over the decades, but I think it'll work itself out really.
So interesting that you mentioned the WBSS because I just mentioned it too. But Callum Smith is actually the winner of the super middleweight WBSS, and you called him the weakest champ. What do you what's your reasoning behind that?
I mean, there was a gap too. You got to remember.
Yeah, the 168 was kind of weird. It was a weird one, and like I said, Groves came in as an injured fighter. He's coming off injury. Like it's just
So you're just saying
that one was a marred one.
okay.
The one that Ward won also had some weirdness to it, but this one I feel like I don't think the talent level was the same as
Yeah,
previous ones. I like the 140 one a bunch. That one was awesome. The
me
one that
too.
Callum Smith won, I don't know. It's kind of
I like the cruiserweight one, the 141, and the I forget the one that the weight class. You know, is that I forget off the top of my head right now.
18.
One
What happened?
eighteen or
Yeah,
118.
oh yeah. The monster one was a great one too.
yeah. Bantamweight. There you go. I just forgot the name.
I say this all the time though.
Like, let's be honest, Juan Carlos Payano and Emmanuel Rodriguez are not the most notable names on Inui's resume. I believe really the only great fight from that series was the Donaire and Louis fight. And if you look at like Donaire's opponents, I think both of his opponents were guys who were fill-ins.
Yeah, well, one of them he was getting his ass whooped before the guy got injured. Like not the fight he had
Ryan
before
Burnett,
Monster, but the one before that. Yeah, it was it. Yeah, I mean, Donaire was definitely faded, but he came out. Once he caught a little fire, he capitalized on it and gave us a great fight. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think I got a question for y'all. Like, let's just, I don't know who runs like WBSS, like if it's run by like another organization or a certain guy.
Sauerland and Schaefer.
Okay, if let's just say he put on Twitter like, "Hey, I want to bring a WBSS tournament to the welterweight and heavyweight division." Do you think they would like allow it?
I don't think they would need $100 million, $150 million to do it. Like
that's very expensive.
Because I legitimately think if they tried to do it, the welterweights and the heavy, they wouldn't take it because they like to dictate their own terms and.
Yeah, well, but you can get the best of the also rans, right? Because the thing about the welterweights is that they're so deep that winning something like that could catapult you into, fighting the guys who are beyond tournaments. Because Pacquiao is not going to be in a tournament. Spence is not going to be in a tournament. Crawford's not going to be in a tournament. But if you win a tournament with Ugas in it, with Mikey in it, with Danny in it. With Porter in it, and you gave those guys, $10 million about. Yeah, you get something happen.
The only thing about that is that those guys at 147, like they're tied to networks, like ESPN, the PBC. It would be probably pretty hard to get a tournament there and find out where they're gonna fight at. What network.
I think the PBC are running their own illegitimate welterweight tournament right now, kind of, like they already kind of have all the fights in house. They have Thurman, Porter, Spence, Garcia, and they technically have Mikey and Pacquiao as well, so they can kind of do their own thing. Unfortunately, I don't think it would work at the welterweight division, just because I think the WBSS works best at divisions that don't really get a lot of spotlight and that have 4 or 3 champions already. And
I think it's
a cool idea, but I don't think it would actually work out. I don't think the PBC would want to do that.
And then plus, they would be missing Crawford, probably the best guy at 147, because he's on ESPN.
Yeah. And that's where it comes to, like, when I say it's a purest form of capitalism, and you say size of the streets and all that stuff, like their business. There's business projections, goals, missions that these organizations have, right? So it's just tough. It's just tough to get some fights sometimes. That's it. In World Boxing Super Series, they would have to pay through the nose in order to get the premier divisions in some kind of tournament. Welterweight. That's part of the reason what makes the thing so brilliant and successful is that it gives spotlights to to weights that need a little bit more promotion.
I think in a couple of years, the zone is going to be really huge, bigger than what it is now. Did you guys hear a story about the zone trying to buy Tom Brady?
Yeah, I did see that. I don't know where that is right now.
Yeah, so I mean, if they can take over like Top Rank and then later on, say the PBC or the PBC fighter, even though Fox has a lot of money, but I don't see them making that much money with Fox, as because how much they pay their fighters compared to the zone. I think if the zone can take over that market in boxing and take over ESPN and PBC fighters, they would have the whole market almost to themselves. Then it would be easier to make fights. I think.
No, I don't think that the zone has any shot at taking over boxing, like just straight up. And I also don't think that a network controlling boxing is a good thing at all.
Why don't you think they have a shot, though? What do you mean by that?
I think that because they only have fights behind a paywall and that their viewership isn't very wide, and they invested so much in boxing specifically that they haven't really positioned themselves as well as either ESPN or Fox, who've diversified their sports portfolio in other more lucrative sports. I don't think that the zone has a foothold in any one sport anywhere. Whereas I think
but
Fox has foothold in the most lucrative markets in any number of ways. Like it's even their revenue model is a problem. Like the fact that they get the revenue from the fans is not it's going to put them at a disadvantage when against ESPN and a Fox who get their money from advertisers.
Okay, I mean,
well, they could easily do advertising in the zone too, you know. And then too, you know, the zone is making a lot of money. I mean, they have like 10 million subscribers a pop. You're looking at a month, you know.
Well,
That's like
I got
how
you,
much
but
money? $200 million a month, you know.
Right, but you're talking about people who are making $300 million a week in advertising, and not even their stock prices. Like what I'm saying to you is like who they're competing against in the market who already have a foothold in it. They're not about to overtake them because they're not even set up business-wise to do that.
I don't know where you get the idea that subscription-based service wouldn't be as good as a TV service that does really expensive pay-per-views that people don't necessarily want, which is kind of what ESPN's kind of in between them, and then PBC is they have decent fights on TV, but then the pay-per-view or the pay-per-view is where all the slightly better fights are, but even then there are fights that aren't really wanted, like the Wilder Fury undercard wasn't very impressive.
But you're conflating issues. You're conflating issues. What you're just talking about is whether or not you really what it is Fox doesn't care about pay-per-views ultimately because they already have locked in budgets for their advertising for the year before even the fights are made. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, that these guys are not actually getting their money, their boxing revenue from fight fans. So what pay-per-views do is irrelevant to the future of boxing at Fox.
But I don't think it's a good model or it's healthy for boxing because I don't think pay-per-views are as hot as they were a while ago.
No, I mean, I don't like whether or not boxing should have pay-per-views. I think boxing pay-per-views, at least when it comes to like Fox and ESPN, are more about augmenting the fighters' pockets versus bringing revenue to the network. And whereas for the DAZN, their revenue directly comes from fans.
Yeah,
but you're talking about
how do they improve that?
You're talking about like, are you talking about advertising and like the ones that are on TV or the pay-per-views?
I'm talking about the way that networks monetize their content. The way networks monetize their television networks monetize their content is through advertisers. Advertisers pay for slots, right? And they pay for those things in yearly slots, and then also in monthly slots and weekly, like whatever the hell. And it's not necessarily even about boxing. And those revenues are in like $20 billion a year range, split up between like 3 networks. Like this is hundreds of millions of dollars a week that they're already spending on it, that they have at their disposal to put on content, to put on sport cut, to put on boxing, put on whatever, right? And the zone just doesn't have that revenue stream to choose to draw from. So they're at a supreme disadvantage. Also, they're on a platform that they're not everywhere. They only are streaming, right? Whereas Fox is streaming and they are on a network. They're part of a cable package. Like it's about market saturation and also how you monetize your content.
So how do they improve that? How do they get better ratings, and how do they
the only thing about that is that PBC doesn't pay their fighters as much as the zone. And that's a problem because we don't know that. Hold on. Let me finish. No, yeah, we do. We do know that. We reserve fighters more money than a PBC does.
We don't know that. You said that twice, but you haven't proved how. How do you know that? You just said that we know that, but how do we know that?
Okay. Eddie Hearn and Andrade offered how much to Charlo for a fight?
$7 million.
Yeah. Okay. And
I believe it was
how much? How Charlo?
Well, right. So
Charlo's
it was $7 million for several fights. We don't know that if the $7 million was for a multi-fight deal or just for Charlo. Because that what
No, it was one
Eddie
fight.
Hearn,
It
what
was a
Eddie Hearn,
one fight deal.
listen, what Eddie Hearn sent over was a $7 million offer with several options. And what they didn't say was which option the $7 million was attached to. Was it $7 million attached to just the one fight, or was it $7 million fight for 2 or 3 fights on the zone? You don't know that because that part wasn't specified.
No, but it was for one fight.
In that
That
regard,
was
is they
one
don't
fight
really
deal. Eddie Hearn said it was a one fight deal, and he can have it on the zone or PPC.
Right. He said right. That was just the Charlo fight. But what I'm saying is he sent an email with several offers, with several options on it, with that $7 million price tag on it. And with the $7 million price tag, he did not say whether or not the $7 million was just for the one fight on the zone or was it for the multiple fights on the zone. Yes, he offered Charlo the one fight on either network. He definitely did that. But I'm just talking about which option the $7 million was attached to. It's not clear.
Yeah.
So I want to ask,
what about AJ?
I want to ask, how do they?
How is AJ making $85 million on one fight on the zone, and
Okay.
Wilder
AJ is
guaranteed money?
He was not making $85 million, and the money came from the Saudi Arabian prince, however much money it was, not the zone.
Okay, hold on, but let me finish. So AJ has making $85 million on one fight, and Wilder was offered $100 and something million for a 3-fight deal, and he's making only like $5 million guaranteed fights over here.
Okay, $5 million guaranteed is just how much money you pay in taxes. It has nothing, like you could make $50 million or $100 million just because you offer $5 million guarantee. The $5 million guarantee does not at all enlighten us on how much money he made. It just shows how much money. It just shows it. Right. It shows that's your minimum. That's not your maximum. It's your minimum. Yes, that's your minimum. What a guarantee is your minimum.
Let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish. Plus upside pay-per-view, right? That's what it was. It's $5 million guarantee, and then plus.
It could be any number of options. Like part of it could be site fees, part of it could be international fees. Who knows what that whole back end is? The thing is, minimum your guaranteed purse is just your minimum amount. However, whatever your revenue streams are, those are your revenue streams, and they could be plentiful.
Yeah,
they could be one. They could be 1. They could be 20. But they could be. But the question is, how much more above 5 million is that? And we don't know.
Correct, but it's also based on pay-per-view sales. It's not just based on other stuff. It's based on pay-per-view sales also. Which was what I'm trying to say is that it was guaranteed $120 million. All that was guaranteed. No upside pay-per-view, none of that stuff.
Right, but it was a 120. It was a 120 million cap. It's not like he was getting it. Even if it did, let's say off that 120 million, they actually did 400 million in revenue. Wilder wasn't going to get any of that extra money because he was already locked into $120 million with the DAZN deal.
Correct.
However, with what he actually did, is he getting Brazil money? And he could be getting Brazil money right now. He could be getting Luis Ortiz money right now. Like, we already know about the Fury. And he could be getting that for the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's not just
correct. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to say is it's guaranteed. Yeah, even though they made more money, still 120 million compared to 5 million. What do you got with Ortiz?
Right, but you're
guaranteed.
You're just talking about. Hold on, guaranteed. The thing is, you're missing. You're missing the one between guaranteed and flat rate.
Let me finish. And then you're having 300,000 pay-per-view buys at $80. That's nowhere near that amount at all.
Right.
So where are they going to get the rest of the money from?
Okay, so what you're talking about is reports about reported.
Yeah, those are the most credible reports that we have available.
And the most credible reports are still full of shit. I mean, but fine, we can call them the most credible reports. That's fine, and I'm not knocking that. What my point is, right? I'm because only because it's full of crap. But but we can still take them. We can still take them and say these are the most credible reports, and the most credible report said this, right? And I'm down with that, even with that sort of with that thinking. The only problem is you're only looking at one market when you do that. And even in the 300,000, even when they did the Tyson Fury first one, when they estimated those buys, they left out several revenue streams even in that calculation. And that's what I'm saying to you guys. Like, just because the guy says it's projected to do this, if they say it's projected to do this in pay-per-view, but that number doesn't include theaters, that number doesn't include downloads, that doesn't include all of these different revenue streams, which they don't tell you how much they made off those things. It's impossible to tell how much money these guys made.
Correct, but also the projected could also be lower and not higher.
Right, but
just Bob Arum said that. Hold on, let me finish. Bob Arum said that Wilder and Josh, what's his face, Fury, could do 2 million pay-per-view buys, which was not even close to that. So also the 2 million projected numbers could be lower.
2 million buys domestically or 2 million buys worldwide, because it did 1.2 in just
total,
the US
worldwide.
and UK. But it did 1.2.
You don't. But when you count pay-per-views, we don't count worldwide. We just count US.
I'm just saying, but okay, but who's just counting that? I don't know what Bob Arum is just counting. Bob Arum is actually counting all of the pay-per-view buys in all of the territories, because that's his money. He's not just going to be talking about, like, if he just said we're going to do 2 million in the US, then I'd be like, okay, cool. Then his projections are all wrong. But if he says it's just going to do 2 million pay-per-view buys,
well, that's what he said, and it was much lower, almost half. Or what was it? 8? See, the thing is, I heard that it was 800. I heard it was 800,000, and then like 300 and something thousand on streaming services.
Right.
So,
the total of 1.1.
Yeah, the first fight was projected, or the first fight was reported at around 325 to 375,000 pay-per-view buys. And the second one, they wanted to, I think, to break even so they don't lose money. They wanted to do 1.2, and they ended up doing somewhere around 850 to 900,000 pay-per-views, which I think is pretty good, honestly, considering I don't think Wilder had a big name.
Where do they get this pay-per-view? Where do they get this break even from a network throwing a pay-per-view event on their own network, on their own service? Like, where are they getting this? You need all this money to break even. That doesn't make any sense.
I'll tell you, because advertising on your own network is not free. They still pay for that, even though it's your network. They still pay for that. The Super Bowl ad?
No, you don't. Okay, that's not how advertising works at all.
Yes, you do.
Networks. Let me finish. Networks they license these properties. It's their property, so they would be paying themselves to advertise. Like, who are they charging for the advertising? Let me explain. Like, whenever you see in the States, right, when they break for a commercial, you'll get a bunch of you'll get whatever corporation is trying to sell you something. But right before the program comes on, they'll show a bunch of shows that the network owns the rights for, that the network is going to broadcast. Those sets of commercials are not paid for by the productions. Those are already baked into the licensing fees. That is now the network trying to call the public into watching its programming. The producers of the programming don't have to pay for that.
No. I'm not talking about the producers. I'm talking about that slot or whatever that commercial has to be paid for. It's not free just because it's in your own network.
Yes, it is. That's what I'm telling you. It is totally free because it is on your own network. And this is what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but what I'm trying to tell you is, if you have a $5 million slot, right, and you choose to do your own commercial, your own thing, they're paying for it because they're actually losing $5 million from another advertiser that could have taken that slot.
No, you're missing. You're totally missing what the difference. You are not competing against other advertisers. What you're competing against is the other programming that is already on the network. That has its own set. Like, every program, every time you cut to a commercial, before you come back to the programming, you'll find that it's about 15 seconds of commercial programming about the network's own shows. That little 15 seconds things, the productions are not paying for that. The promoters are not paying for that little thing. That is what the networks are using, the time that they've allotted to advertise for their own content. Now, depending on the importance of that content, you'll get more views, right? So if it's a big fight that the network has a bunch invested in, they will advertise their other programming. They'll advertise less and bump up that advertising. But it's not like they're losing out off of McDonald's advertising because they're promoting their own content. That's not how it works. They have an allotted amount of time always, like regardless of any fight, where they're going to just be promoting their own content, and the producers of that content don't have to pay for that ad time.
Let me talk about the point I was talking about with the underperforming. By the way, I think I misspoke. I don't think it was to break even, but Bob Arum's hope was that the trajectory, the projected numbers would be about 1.2 million, and they broke the Lewis Tyson pay-per-view from 2002, but they still underperformed from their hopes in terms of pay-per-view buys. But where they overperformed, where they actually did better than they thought they would, was so what happened was on traditional cable, right? The pay-per-view, they did poorly. They wanted to do more than $850,000, but they actually exceeded their expectations in the ESPN Plus and Fox Sports app. So that just goes back to the point that the apps are more accessible than the traditional pay-per-view model, which has people charge high prices, which are very unappealing to the casual fan, when a more moderate price of $20 a month, or you can get the year package, or I think it's like $17 a month if you get the whole year, is a far more appealing, but it's far more appealing for the people, because even if they're casual ads, like, oh, it's $17, right? And I'll watch, a couple weekends of good fights, or casual fans, so I like Anthony Joshua and Canelo Alvarez. They still get their money's worth. When with pay-per-view, you really don't. I mean, you're getting fights like Plant Benavidez, and neither of them really have a big name. I don't even know how good that pay-per-view did. Or Spence Porter, that did worse than the pay-per-view right before that, which was Spence Mikey Garcia, and that's because Mikey Garcia was the draw, not necessarily Spence.
Plant that hasn't fought on pay-per-view yet, but I'm going to just go back to just a distinction. The pay-per-view buys is one thing, but you got to remember that, like Lewis, the Lennox Tyson pay-per-view number, the buys were good, but the actual cost was about a quarter of the cost. Like it was $20 for that pay-per-view. So the amount of cost went up. The cost of that pay-per-view was 4 times as much. You know what I mean?
No, I was just bringing up.
But really, this whole thing stems from the Zone making more than PBC. The Zone fighters making more than PBC fighters, and just this whole macro view of how fights are monetized and how guys are making money. All it does is underline the fact that we actually don't know how much the boxer is actually collecting from this stuff. That's all I'm saying. That's really all I'm saying.
What I'm curious is
the Zone. It seems as though they are prepaying for all of that stuff and just giving fighters flat fees at a high rate, at a high market rate. So Canelo is getting $35 million per fight. But is Canelo getting back end money and all that stuff? I don't think so. I think he's just getting $35 million flat fees. We don't know that what these other guys are making. We just don't know. They're not getting just flat fees. They're getting they're getting access to any number of revenue streams, some of which we know, some of which we don't.
I want to ask, like, so you said that the Zone's formula is it's rather poor compared to like Fox, and of course, like, it's new. So what should they be doing better in your opinion?
I know. I'm saying that their business model and their revenue streams, to me, preclude them from taking over boxing, especially like in the U.S.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. I'm saying like, what can they do better? In your opinion?
Free fights. But they can't do it. But I'm just saying, like, what they can do. I don't know how they would figure it out, but that is, to me, the way that you grow the sport and how you get millions of people's eyes on it is to give it to the people for free.
And why do you think that is?
Because
I wanted to be good too.
No, because that's just what the empirical data shows. It's just like the free fights are getting like millions and millions of views, whereas the pay-per-view ones and the ones behind paywalls and all that stuff, they're not.
Yeah, good point. I mean, unless you just have really overblown content. I mean, I can't compare boxing to Netflix, but I mean,
I'm just saying, like a fight like Canelo Jacobs doing 600,000 domestically. Like if you would have put that fight on CBS, that fight would have got 5 or 6 million people watching it.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, but little by little, streaming services are taking over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everything. And also it's a platform that's been out for over a year. I think it's kind of insane that it is able to compete with something as established like a Fox Sports. or an ESPN. I think they're even doing better than ESPN because ESPN's trying to sell Top Rank.
Yeah, well, no, that's not ESPN.
And even
That's different. It's not that ESPN owns Top Rank. Bob Arum is trying to sell Top Rank. It's a difference. Top Rank just has a contract with ESPN. ESPN doesn't own Top Rank.
correct.
Okay, so what can
Top Rank is owned by Bob Arum.
Okay, so what can PBC do better? I mean, there's always room to improve. So what can PBC do better to maybe increase ratings or get their fighters more money?
I think that PBC is having a real. Their conflict is that they're fighter first friendly. I think, and I think that is now bristling up against what the fans want. But I think that really most of the work that PBC could do is probably reach out to more the other organizations for important fights. And I think that would go a long way into just soothing, into smoothing over what's happening. But part of this thing is not just the promotional organizations; they're actual network wars. Like TV networks don't want to compete with streaming services, like just sort of they want to be the streaming service. So above and beyond the competition that's happening with boxing promoters, there's also with the networks and the streaming services that boxing lives under, or lives in, or is housed by, I should say.
Well, I don't know. I just think that the streaming services are going to take over. Even like cable, DirecTV and Comcast, all those. Even there's a lot. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a lot of cord cutting apps now that are slowly taking over little by little.
Yeah, no, and listen, the future. Who knows what the future is going to look like and what that's going to mean for boxing? But yeah, I would definitely say the future is probably going to be streaming, or maybe something other that we don't even know what that is yet. And streaming would be a stepping stone. But at this point, streaming is probably the least favorite way for fans to consume sports, I would say.
But how if I just told you that the traditional cable model underperformed and the streaming model overperformed?
Right, but it's about the kind of content. And that content doesn't include sports. If you were to look at what people are doing for sports, what you would find is the cable model is far outperforming the streaming model. The streaming model is outperforming in other modes of the entertainment business, not the sports part.
Well, what about the? What about the football?
The biggest sport. Hold on. The biggest sports, ESPN. They're going to streaming, which they have the ESPN Plus.
No, I mean that's fine. That's fine. But it's not like people are watching. It's not like people like 40 million people are watching college football on the streaming service. They're watching it on the TV.
The only one I can think of where ESPN app just did way more than I really thought it was when Manny Pacquiao fought with Jeff Horn. Was that ESPN? No, it was another fight.
No, the first ESPN fight was Terrence Crawford, Jeff Horn, not Manny Pacquiao, Jeff Horn.
Which fight was it? I think it was Terrence Crawford. It was a fight on ESPN where it
that's when I got it. That was the very first ESPN Plus fight ever. That Terrence Crawford. It was that fight, and I got ESPN Plus for that fight, and I haven't been able to get rid of ESPN Plus since then. So I know that, I see the content that they have and like how they keep people there, and also ESPN Plus is like a quarter of the price of the Zone. And it has sports on it that the Americans are actually interested in.
Hey, get the smoke. Let me see this. Do you have the Zone?
No. I watch all the fights.
You don't have the Zone?
No, I mean if I can stream them, then I don't necessarily have to pay for it. It's already streaming, right?
You just illegally stream it?
But
hello?
You just put them on blast, huh?
No, I mean I thought I answered it. I thought I answered it pretty clearly. If it's already streaming, I don't think I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So why would you pay for the? Why would you pay?
I can't get rid of ESPN Plus. I've already tried, it's like several times. Like it is damn near impossible. It's like Anyway.
I thought you meant like it was convincing you to keep it. You're saying you literally can't cancel it?
No, I literally can't get rid of it. When I've tried to get rid of it, it hasn't worked out for me. And then they bring me programming that I'm like kind of interested in. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. So I don't get like really all bent out of shape about it. but they make it very hard for you to get rid of it.
Okay, yeah, I think they did it on
Oh,
purpose. Okay, so I think we covered a good bit of that discussion. Someone in the chat was talking about the 135 140 division. I believe it was pull check boxing. If I can just find the comment. Yeah, so like, what do you guys think of the 135 140 division right now? How do you think it's shaping up?
I think
We're
I
probably
think
gonna
there's
see
want me to go
undisputed.
first?
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let GTS go first.
140 seems like it will. Like Taylor's the guy to beat. I like that Taylor Ramirez fight. I don't know. I feel like Taylor might have better luck at 147 than Ramirez, but both. I'll say this: both divisions seem like the guys are on their way. The best guys are probably not going to be in the division long, right?
Mm,
I like at the 135 guys seem to be least suited actually for that division. The best guys at 135, and the guys that are left that I think could be at 135 for a long time. I don't have. I'm not that interested in what they're
yeah,
gonna do over many fights. Like Tank, I think there's like 3 or 4 fights I'm interested in Tank at 135, but not really a ton. So once those guys move up, like who can Tank versus Linares, Tank versus Luke Campbell. I'm just not that interested in those fights.
are you interested in the Tank Lomachenko fight, or do you think it won't happen?
No, I'm very interested in that fight. Like that is a fight that I would like to see at 130 or 135. Just period. I want to see those two guys fight in like the next year or two. Like actually,
Okay,
like year and a half. Like after a year and a half, I'm not that interested in it anymore because I think Lomachenko is not going to right. I just think like age will show up. Age will be just too much of a factor in the fight.
yeah. Okay, so do you guys want to talk about 135 and 140 together? Or do you guys want to break the divisions apart, kind of, and we can talk about them individually?
However you want to do it.
All right. I think we can probably break down 135 first, and then because I think I'll transition nicely to 140 because a lot of those guys, like Pulchek says here, a lot of these coming out of this layoff, a lot of these guys might move up because the talent at 135 is a lot of young prospects. You have Teofimo, you have Ryan Garcia. I don't want to say prospects because they are at that level now, but young guys, young talent. You have Teofimo Lopez, you have Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. I mean, Shakur Stevenson's kind of back there. He's not as big as them, but he could still move up eventually. So, like, what do you guys think of the 135 division right now?
Who's gonna go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go for it. Or you want me to go first? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it was that division I was looking forward to as far as like the competition coming up. So yeah, it's potentially the most I think intriguing for some of the fantasy matchups we could have. But I know like realistically we're probably not going to see all of them. So somebody's going to fall off the map somewhere after they lose. But it's a lot of good competition. It's a lot of potential fights there.
What do you guys rate top 5? Like, no necessary order, but if you wanted to order, like the top 5 fighters at 135.
All right. I'll do it.
Yeah, you go first.
I have Lomachenko number 1.
Okay.
I got Teofimo number 2. I have Haney number 3, and I have Ryan and Tank, and they're kind of tied, but I'm gonna put Ryan number 4 just because I think he can beat Tank, and then I'll put Tank number 5. And back to Get the Smoke, or one of you guys were saying about Tank fighting Lomachenko. I do not see that that happen at all, unless Tank loses or Lomachenko loses to somebody. That's the only way I can see that fight happening.
You think they're ducking each other, or what do you mean by that?
No, I think Tank is not fighting real his level competition. I think he's fighting like real low level competition, and look at his next fight. Supposedly it's going to be Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz has one fight at 130, and the fight, I know Tank Davis is not going to be able to make 130 because he didn't even make 135. know what I mean? So it's gonna have to be at 135, and
Yeah.
that's you know what I mean. That's I mean, who has Tank fought? You know what I mean? Like he fought yeah, Gamboa was he's a good guy. I mean, good boxer, but not now. Maybe 6-7 years ago when he fought Crawford, but not right now. Plus,
Yeah.
he had
Okay.
I
he was
think
fighting he was fighting on hold on, let me finish. He was fighting on one leg. That fight kind of reminded me of Sergio Martinez versus Miguel Cotto. Remember how
Okay.
how
yeah,
Martinez was bow-legged?
yeah, but the issue was that Martinez had a pre-existing injury. He came into that fight injured
I
versus
that
versus
has nothing
no, no,
hold on, that has
but
nothing to do with it.
let
That has
me
nothing
finish.
to do with it.
No, well,
Wow, hold on.
let me just finish my point.
Guys,
All
My
right,
point is
I think
in the Gamboa fight, he injured his leg during the course of the fight.
yeah, he's just saying
correct
it
that, but that
reminds
has
me
nothing
of
to
like
do with
that
it
kind of
because
performance.
hold on, let me rebuttal that. I mean, that has nothing to do with it because that they fought like that on one leg. Doesn't matter if it was during the fight or before the fight because when did he get it? Like in the second round or the first round
And that was like
when he
Second.
messed up his
second round. Yeah, it was like the second round.
yeah, and it went 12 rounds, right? It went 12 rounds, so it was more than
But
80% of the fight
no,
with one leg.
it got increasingly worse. It looked at points better than in other points in the fight, but it's not like he was injured and then he was just peg leg for the rest of the fight. Like he was diminished, but he was also using a lot of like Gamboa is a lot craftier. He was the veteran. He was the skill, and he used all of those tactics to survive. It's not like he
Yeah,
was
but
winning rounds, and it's not like
how
Gamboa.
important? I know, but how important is your feet in boxing?
It's very important, but you're talking about is the difference between winning a fight though and getting knocked out. And you're saying because he wasn't getting knocked out,
No,
then
I
that
never said
may
that.
no,
I
no,
never said that.
but that's
I
what
never said that
okay,
was a difference.
I know. But what I'm saying is you set up a zero-sum game because he didn't stop a guy with one leg. Then what do we need to diminish his performance? Not taking into account he was beating the shit out of the guy with the one leg, and he won every round.
Correct, but
I think he
compared
was
to what
just
you're supposed to do,
particularly.
Miguel Cotto knocked the hell out of Martinez.
Yeah,
That was a convincing.
Martinez came into the fight already injured.
Yeah, I just
It doesn't matter.
And also
He still
Martinez is not
he still fought with both legged.
and Martinez certainly isn't as crafty as Gamboa was. Martinez didn't have those kind of, he didn't have that kind of like
what's the
I mean,
advantage?
I disagree with that, but I mean,
Martinez relied on
Yeah.
his athleticism and his unorthodox and his speed. Like he wasn't like some crafty inside fighter that knows how to hold on and like
that's the same way Gamboa works. I mean, I agree with your whole point. I just disagree with that one that wasn't as crafty as Gamboa. He was.
At no point did I see Martinez using his craftiness and his wiliness and his guile or his experience as a boxer in order to survive rounds. I saw him using his legs and his lack thereof. But if he couldn't get out of the way of a shot, then he was going to get hit with that shot because he just didn't know how to do. Like
That's the same way with Gamboa. He got stopped 3 times already. No, 3 times.
But he didn't get to. No, he retired once. He got knocked out once, but by Crawford. But that was this last time was his third loss. But the complexion of the fights were totally different. But really, that doesn't even mean that doesn't address what I'm actually saying. What happened in the Tank fight?
What are you saying? What do you like? What does this matter right now?
I'm just saying that Gamboa. I feel like Raider is saying that that Tank should have been. He should be rated. I think he's rating Tank harshly for not knocking out Gamboa earlier than he did.
Yeah, that's his opinion, though. I asked everyone to give their opinion on top 5 fighters.
Okay, yeah. No, we just got sidetracked on that one point. That's it.
Yeah, that's why I was really confused.
That's fine though. Let's
break down these things of everyone. But now Battle Rifle, you can go and then get to smoke, and I'll go last.
I'm just gonna piggyback. I'm gonna say it's the same as Raider.
So Lomachenko, Teofimo,
Haney. I'll probably put Tank ahead of. I probably put Tank. I'll switch it. I'm sorry. I'll switch it around. But you said no particular order, so.
Oh, okay. So no particular order. Just those 5, right?
So wait a minute,
Yes.
I missed the 5. I got Haney. I heard Tank, and I heard Haney, Tio, and
Garcia.
Go
Loma.
with Ryan
Oh,
Garcia.
Ryan Garcia is the other one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I get to smoke. It's your top 5.
Yeah, I got Vasily, Tank, Tiafimo, Haney, and I'll go with Comey. And if it was, and my honorable mention would be Linares.
Linares being like just outside of the top 5. You're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. If I had to do the 135 division, I would say first it's Lomachenko, then Teofimo Lopez, and then I would say Devin Haney, probably Tank number 4, and then number 5. I don't mind putting Linares. I don't mind putting Comey. I don't mind putting Ryan Garcia. Any one of those top 10 guys, like the tail end, can just mix up in that 5th spot. I don't really have a strong. I don't really favor anyone over anyone.
Yeah, because Linares beat Campbell, Fortuna, he showed some stuff in his fights. Like I said, who else do we have? Is it Lee Selby? Is he campaigning at 135? And I think Lee Selby's at 135. And yeah, Fortuna, Ryan Garcia just haven't shown me. I like his skills, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I think Ryan Garcia is good. I just don't. He's not very. There's some question marks about him. We don't know if he can go the distance very well, and we haven't seen him struggle in a fight or face a lot of adversity.
Or face the kind of guy that would catapult him into the top 5 for me. I like his skill set, but it's the level of competition. The other guys are a lot more accomplished, or with the exception of Devin Haney. And I think that's why I think I rate Haney just a little bit higher than I rate Ryan Garcia at this point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, Smoke, did you have Tank in your top 5?
I have number 2.
Oh, number 2?
Yeah.
You didn't have. So who did you have in there? Teofimo?
No, I've got Teofimo as number 3.
And then Haney? I thought you said you had Campbell and Linares 4 or 5.
No, I have not Campbell. I have Linares. I have Linares and Comey. Yeah, I have Linares. So my guys is Vasily, Tank, Teofimo, Devin Haney, Comey. And then my number,
okay, yeah,
Comey and Linares.
Yeah, because last time you didn't mention Tank the first time. That's why, because you had Comey and Linares.
No, I'm saying Tank. I'm saying that I had those guys as like basically my 5A and 5B. But yeah, Tank is number 2 for me. Tank is it.
Is there any reason why you have Teofimo Lopez after Tank?
Yeah, because I feel like Teofimo has actually done better. Has done more than Tank. Like I think Teofimo has done more in the division, but I think Tank has done more overall in the sport.
How so?
Because I think that although Richard Comey is a great, I think he's nice. I think Gamboa has actually done more in the sport, and I think
lightweight though, or
no, just period, just guys, just fighters in the sport, like level of, like what they've been able to accomplish in the sport. I think Gamboa has done nice work in boxing. I think that Tank did some nice work at 130 and is moving up. This is his new weight class, but I think basically based on the work that he's put in, I would have to say I appreciate the work that he's done in his career a little bit more than I appreciate what Teofimo has done in his career. I think Teofimo is basic. I like Teofimo beating Comey. I feel like that is a better win than Tank beating Gamboa. But I think Tank's other exploits at 130 just, to me, propelled him a little bit above Teofimo. Teofimo is just too green for me.
What did he do at 130 that you like? Because that's actually what a lot of people criticize him for, fighting a lot of featherweights and non-notable fighters at 130. So like,
what did he do? Oh, so which fights are you talking about? Like,
yeah, like what fight or fight?
I mean, I thought the Cuellar fight. I mean, sure, he was coming up, but I thought that was a great fight. I thought the Pedraza fight was a good fight, and then the Fonseca fight was also, I think those three guys stack up very nicely towards building a fighter and making like answering some questions about a fighter. And I think Teofimo just hasn't had that same level of kind of like comparable. I think Comey is great. Don't get me wrong. Comey is a great, but outside of Comey, it gets real thin.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So who do you think has a better body of work?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's a body of work. It's body of work. Yeah, it's body of work, not necessarily at that division.
Okay, and then what do you guys think about Teofimo wanting to fight Lomachenko for undisputed immediately?
I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good fight. I think it makes sense given the landscape at Top Rank. But I think it also makes sense to not make the fight and let Teofimo go keep his O and go up to 140 and campaign there. I like the fact that Teofimo wants to fight. I think that it is a weird way to get undisputed for Loma. I would prefer that Loma and Teofimo fight other people before they fought each other for undisputed, just to make it for real undisputed. But overall, I applaud that Teofimo is trying to do it.
Okay. What about you, Battle Rifle? What do you think?
Smoke.
Oh. Yeah, I'm ready to see it, man. I'm just like, we need another undisputed, man. No more stalling. Let's see it.
All right, cool. And then Raider from LA, what did you want to ask?
No, I wanted to ask get the smoke if Tank fighting Leo Santa Cruz was a cherry pick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
It's not. I mean, it's not even. It's to me, it's not even about cherry pick at that point. Like it's like it's beyond. It's like literally beyond the cherry pick. Like I feel like there's another category for like fights that nobody cares about and does nothing for you. Like it's nothing. Like what does Leo Santa Cruz bring? Absolutely nothing.
Okay. Well, let me take that back. It's not necessarily a fight where it does nothing for you. So I agree with that point. It's not necessarily a fight where Tank, I don't think it's just going to be, well, he's picking this guy, and yeah, of course we're going to criticize him for it. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, there's going to be those guys that just want to say, I want to see what Leo Santa Cruz can do, and I'm more than I promote fighters to move up in weight and fight your best competition. So I don't know. It might not be a cherry pick, but it kind of makes Tank look, bad.
Yeah, it's this weird fight where it's like who the hell cares about it? It's just one of those like what does beating Leo Santa Cruz do for you? If you knocked him out in one round, or you knocked him out in the 12th, or whatever the hell, like it's just a lose. Like if it goes to 12 rounds, then all it does is make you look bad. Like I don't even know that you would call it just like a horrible matchmaking.
It's just like the word cherry pick sounds real bad, It's just like how you have Tank number 2. If he was, and according to you, then even Tank fighting Devin Haney or Teofimo would be a cherry pick for Davis since you have him number 2.
Right, but I mean, how much money is he making for fighting fucking Leo Santa Cruz? Because I did have 2 separate criteria for how it is not a cherry pick, and this still is prize fighting. And if he's fighting Leo Santa Cruz on pay-per-view, and he's gonna get more for that than he would fight, whomever, that fine. I don't like that fight, but if he's gonna make more fighting Leo Santa Cruz than he would make fighting Lee Selby. Sure, I have Lee Selby as a higher rated lightweight. I think Lee Selby would be a harder fight, but he makes more fighting Santa Cruz. Who's I'm not going to tell a guy, hey.
So would it be a cherry pick? So would it? I know, but it's kind of crazy because Canelo fighting Kovalev, where he would make more money than he would do fighting Beterbiev or Vadze.
No, he's on flat fees. He makes 35 million regardless of who he fights.
Get the smoke. I just wanted to. I just thought it was a good question because it kind of I don't want to say like exposes because that's a strong word, but it kind of it shows that your definition that you made isn't a very clear cut or doesn't really apply well to all scenarios. It just kind of changes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just didn't think it was a very clear cut way to define cherry picking, and I think cherry picking is a specific thing, and that could be cherry picking. But by the way, I don't think the fight would be at lightweight. I think the fight would be at super featherweight.
I mean, listen, even if I don't even think it is a very competitive fight at super featherweight. Like I don't like it's not even about. For me, Leo Santa Cruz is not about cherry picking because I think Leo Santa Cruz is about prize fighting. I think that is about how do you leverage the most money at a particular moment. But the marketability of it comes into play where, there's tougher fights, sure, but they're not quite as lucrative. Even as 130, even like Brichelt, I think is a tougher fight, but you might make more fighting Leo Santa Cruz than you would fighting Brichelt.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think cherry picking, it's important to account money, but it's mostly about the level of competition available, and that's the whole definition of cherry picking being, you have an available option and picking the absolute easiest or just the one with most leeway, which is, in boxing would be the easiest fight possible.
But I mean, I get you. And also too, I think Canelo at 168 and 175, the tag fits. I think it's fine.
But also, I think Canelo. I think last time I heard is that he said that he wouldn't fight. He gets some type of incentive, apart from his 36 million.
They're paying Canelo more to his what's it called? His deal, I guess.
Guaranteed.
And what's probably going to happen
guaranteed.
He's going to fight Billy Joe Saunders and Triple G, and then they're going to have a top touch in Murata because that's a big fight for the zone, and they think they like the subscriber pool because they're going international soon as well. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
They already are international. They came into our market already an international player. But yeah, they have a deal in Japan. I mean, yeah, I get the business of it and all that stuff, and I'm not mad at the business of it, and I don't mind people bringing it up. But I think also we should say, just like we say for anybody else who is making these same sort of business decisions, whether you're fighting Guerrero or Murata. When there's tougher challenges out there, you should say, hey, you know what? Robert the Ghost Guerrero, sure, he's cool, but there's other guys.
Hey, get this more. Does the price of the fighter making money? Does it apply also to fighters making money? As far as everybody making money?
The prize fighter, for me, when it just comes down to the fighter, it's about, you go to these amateur bouts and you see who's in there, and these guys literally have no other options for social mobility or to feed themselves, right? And so that's why they're there, to hone their skills, to be great and all that stuff. But it's really to change their station, right? And so that part of it has to be also honored to me, just as much as the legacy of it and the level of competition and all that stuff.
Does it just apply to the fighter making money, or is it just?
I don't care that the network makes a bunch of money and the fighter doesn't, right? Or the promoter makes a bunch of money.
So that's what I was getting to. So like BIT was saying about Canelo fighting Murata, that's a huge money fight. You know what I mean? It's a big fight, not just here in the US, but obviously in Japan also. So that's bringing a lot of revenue. That's big price fighting.
I hear you, and that's cool for the zone. And I'm not mad. And like I said, I'm not mad at it. Listen, let me just break this down for you. Canelo has broken his ass for me, broken his back. I am not. I don't have all of this. Hey, you know what, Canelo? You need to prove yourself and fight all these guys that I think you should fight. That's not what it is with me. What it is with me is if you're going to go around saying you're the 3-time champ, like I'm the three belt winner, 3-time belt holder. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's break that down and put it into its proper context. Now, if you want to say that he went up and got a belt against against Kovalev, and I'm not mad at that. I thought Kovalev would win, right? I think it's still an impressive win. However, if you want to start saying that Canelo now is the best at 175, that's where the disconnect comes from. Because what we're talking about when we say these unifications and champions, what you're really saying is I'm the best at this weight class.
Yeah, I agree with you. Canelo could pick sometimes better opponents, but I mean, every fighter has options. I mean, not every fighter picks the best fighter. I mean, and out of all the fighters now, I think Canelo is picking the best than any other fighter is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I got you, but what I'm saying is, but Canelo shouldn't actually be comparing himself to these other fighters of today, and and just put it into perspective. I love the Robert Guerrero fight. Like I went to it, I watched the whole thing. I wasn't like, hey, you know what, Floyd should be fighting this guy and fighting that other guy. I didn't think that, but I also recognize the fact that other people did. Like I hear what people were saying, and I'm not mad at the fact that people were saying that because it's the case. Right, that's just it. So let's just keep the same thing. Like when we're talking about these all-time greats and we're comparing their resumes, let's just keep it in the proper context.
Yeah, no. But I just want you to know that out of all the presidents right now, Canelo is probably fighting the best competition compared to other fighters.
Yeah, I mean, Canelo turned pro at 15, right? He is at this point. He's had how many fights? 50-something, 53 fights, something like that. He's had a 56 fight. He's had a ton of fucking fight. Like he is just not in the same space in his career as a Charlo or an Andrade or.
Why not? Because they had more fights. They had amateur bouts. Those are
right. But I'm just saying in the pro ranks. I'm just saying his actual thing at this point in his career, because he was pro and didn't do all that amateur stuff. He is now he's put in so much work in the pro ranks that these guys have a lot of work to do to catch up to what he's done in the pro ranks.
Yeah, but
like I can give you what. Hey, BAT, let me. You can IBT. Here. All right. No, I'll give you Canelo's last 16 fights. All right. So Shane Mosley, Josecito Lopez, Austin Trout, Floyd Mayweather, Alfredo Angulo, Erislan de Lara, James Kirkland, Miguel Cotto, Amir Khan, Liam Smith, Chavez Jr., Triple G, Rocky Fielding, Daniel Jacobs, and Sergey Kovalev. Those are his last 16 fights.
That resume is really, really good.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best out there. I mean, sure, at those fights he could have chosen a better opponent. Obviously there was somebody better. There's always somebody better, but that's not a bad.
Right, but when you start looking at it, all right. So first off, you go back like when is that? How far did you go back to Mosley? Wasn't that like 2012, like 2013, 2012, somewhere in there? That was like 8 years ago. Like these guys, like where was Andrade or Charlo 8 years ago? I'm not even going to go into how many of those guys were like past their primes in those 16 fights because I'm not even going to go there with you. I'm just going to say, where were the other guys in the division that we're comparing Canelo to 8 years ago?
8 years ago, he was not losing. Sorry, Andrade had a split decision fight with Vanes Manarosian.
Yeah. You know, and Charlo, that's what I'm just saying, that these guys are not in the same parts of their career. Like one guy's fighting Sugar Shane Mosley, an all-time great Hall of Famer, albeit past his prime, but whatever. He's still an all-time great Hall of Famer. The other guy's doing split decisions with Vanes Manarosian.
Yeah, but I think that's to his point that that Canelo has accomplished a lot in his career, and I don't want to say he just accomplished a lot because he's been a pro for so long it doesn't count or whatever. But I do think it's important to know that Canelo wasn't just pro very early. These guys had amateur experience, right? And they're being promoted. But what Canelo did was he honed his skill set and defensive skills first before he focused on walking guys down or oh, I'm just gonna punch them really hard and I'm gonna get good knockouts. He focused on his craft and his technique, and
he did.
essentially.
I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm not arguing right now. I'm just
Yeah.
talking.
Okay, go.
He
Yeah.
honed his craft and his technique, and then he challenged fighters who were seen as the top fighters in his division, and he moves up. And that's why his resume and his legacy is already cemented at age 29. He's still entering his prime,
Yeah, and let me ask you guys this. IBT, do you think Canelo can still improve right now at 29 years old? Do you think he can get better?
Oh, I definitely can. I think he's still improving in every fight that we've seen him. We saw him improve from the Triple G first fight to the second fight. We saw his defensive skills even better in the Jacobs fight. I mean, the Rocky Fielding was a soft touch, so you didn't see much there. But you also see him, displaying his defensive and counter-punching skills and his ability to walk forward and take hits, and just his ring IQ in the Kovalev fight. So I definitely think he's improved exponentially in a very short amount of time, and I think he's only going to continue improving as he's entering his physical prime.
Yeah,
I agree. I think he's still improving.
I don't really necessarily agree. I see some signs of the wear and tear of being in those big fights, and I don't know that his physical prime and his skills are going to actually coincide. Like we may be in the era on the back end actually of his physical prime and his skills being aligned. I think moving forward, I think he's going to be more skilled than he is, having the benefits of his youth. I think these fights are taking something out of him. I think the Triple G fight took something out of him. I think the Austin Trout fight took something out of him. I think these fights are taking something out of him.
He's improving in every fight. I mean, I think he's in his prime right now, but I think he can still get better. That's my 2 cents.
I love. So just so you know, I think Canelo Alvarez is the most complete fighter. The only thing that I think he can actually improve on is fighting off the back foot and maybe being able to use lateral movement for 12 rounds. But to my point is, I don't think that he actually has the physicality to do lateral movement for 12 rounds against against like an Andrade or somebody. Actually Andrade sucks coming forward. Charlo, I think at some point he's going to have to meet Charlo like head on and fight for that space. I don't think he has I think that part of his youth is behind him. He was never that much of a mover to begin with, but I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's fought on the back foot. He's not really a slick fighter on the back foot. That's not his style. But he has defensive capabilities on the back foot, and he's mostly a counterpuncher on the back foot, and that's why. I mean, that's what his back foot skill is. He's mostly a come forward fighter. They're not mostly come forward fighter, but the difference is he started out as a counterpuncher who would kind of let them swing first, but he developed into a fighter that had good head movement going forward. So he was able to incorporate his offense and defense at the same time while walking them down with his big physicality and counterpunching and body shots. So,
I think his head movement is definitely.
I agree.
I think he had pretty good head movement even in the Austin Trout fight. Like it's not like he had no head movement and all of a sudden got some head movement. I think his head movement had improved, but
he came out of Mexico.
No, yeah,
people like to say that he came out of Mexico like a knockout artist, and he fought Mayweather and suddenly became a defensive mastermind. But he was fighting Austin Trout using that defensive head movement. So.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. Canelo's always had head movement, but he has sharpened that head movement, and especially with slipping jabs, like slipping punches. I mean, slipping punches. He's been on point with that. Like all the tools he's had, he's sharpening them up. He's being real sharp. His counter punching and also fighting off his back foot. I think he fighting off his back foot fucking really good. His defense to offense ratio, like the way is really good because you can see that when he counter punches.
No, I'm just saying, like to me, these are the places that I think that he could improve on. I think pretty much he's mastered everything else in boxing. I don't really see there being room for improvement on his ability to slip a punch or to counter or timing or ranging any of the intangibles focus. Basically he's complete. The only thing that I see that he could probably improve upon, one thing is being better off the back, just better than he is. Not that he sucks off the back foot, just being better than he is right now. And then the other part of his lateral movement, but I don't think that I think his body is not there like that. I don't know. I just don't see it. For some reason, I feel like he tires already. I think he has stamina. It's like low-key stamina issues already without being without being much of a mover, and he doesn't have the fastest feet either.
Yeah, that you took the words right out of my mouth. Lateral movement is probably one of the things that he can work on, but I just don't think that's his style. Lateral movement. I think he's more has a style that he has to be planted, with throwing punches. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I think he can improve on, and not just solely rely on being planted with his feet to throw punches.
I guess he could also become like more of a rhythm. Like he's fairly good off the jet. Like he's pretty much complete guy. Like he could. I see him fighting mostly in rhythm. Maybe he could become a little bit, fight between punches, between the beats and all that stuff, and get a more of an offbeat style. But whatever. That's just adding tricks. Really, that's not necessarily. Is that really better? That's just that's adding different things to you. I guess it's better because he couldn't do it before. So whatever.
What I mean by you can go, Raider.
What he has improved on is his waist movement. His waist movement and his head movement are two different things. I've seen a lot of interviews with Chepo Reynoso and Eddie Reynoso that they've been working a lot on his waist movement. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that he has improved a lot on. That's why he has the ability to slip punches too, not just moving his head. He moves his waist, and he just looks like he just slips punches.
I think the greatest improvement he's had over the course of his career has been defensively. That's been the most
defensive.
That has been the biggest improvement he's made. But he's made other improvements also. But that's been the most glaring to me.
Because if you just compare his defense, I mean, he was already, like I said, he came out of Mexico. People like to the HBO tried to market him as this like knockout machine when that's not really what he was. I mean, he does have knockout power, but he was mostly this kind of this slick fighter, right? Who could counterpunch you, and he could fight on the back foot, and he could kind of fight on the front foot a little. But as his career went on, and as he kind of progressed as a fighter, he was much better at both those things, and his head movement going forward improved, which is something that's incredibly difficult. If you ask anyone, or if you look at any boxers, most of the slick fighters or the defensive fighters are defensive going backwards or fighting on the back foot, or they focus on getting jabs and counters, but they don't really focus on walking forward and getting the body shots, and that's why Canelo's kind of unique in that aspect, and that's why I think he's improved, and why I think he can still improve is just continue to hone that craft, and I think his stamina has gotten better over the years, and I think that his ability to pick his shots and his counterpunching ability has improved, as well as the precision and when to punch, or like why you should punch to the body instead of the head, as well as he does this thing where he feints with both of his arms by flaring them, and essentially it has you guess whether he's going to hook you to the head with his right hand or hit you to the body with his left hand, which is actually how he set up the Kovalev KO, because Kovalev was scared of getting hooked the left side as he was moving right to escape the ropes, and then he got him to the body. No, he got him to the head instead of the body, and then he hit him with the right hand after to put him out. So it's just that kind of that boxing IQ.
Yeah, but I feel like what you're talking about is his shot. I feel like what you're talking about is shot selection, though. But and Canelo's shot selection has been pretty exemplary the whole time.
Yeah. Also,
yeah,
too.
But I think it's improved.
Go ahead.
No, you can go. That's all I had to say. I just think that he's honed that craft down over and over and over again. That's why we see his defense improve after every fight.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the rematch with Triple G when a lot of people say, oh, Canelo got hurt in that 10th round? Just the biggest shot that Triple G had on Canelo. You guys remember that shot?
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you guys have time, go back to that punch and look what happened right after that punch. Canelo dodged like 8 punches in a row of Triple G.
I thought Canelo made Triple G look ordinary offensively in the first fight. I thought what Canelo did was absolute brilliant, like in the first fight, and he didn't really get a lot of credit for it. But I thought he exposed Triple G really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you know what?
exposed his
I mean,
You know what's crazy?
as far as what he actually is as a pocket fighter, and like how good he is fighting going backwards, or how good he isn't going backwards. So his what is it? So it's not that Triple G isn't it doesn't set up his shots lovely, but I feel like in the Canelo in what Canelo did was he showed how Triple G sort of telegraphs his hooks and sort of telegraphs his shots, and that's all. And he sort of reaches also, and he reaches with his shots and he pushes his shots as well as telegraphs them. I think all of that was Canelo exposing that. Danny Jacobs was less of that. I don't know. There was a different kind of fight, but I think Canelo exposed some technical deficiencies in Triple G that nobody else did.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
And
get
then
this smoke.
say something.
Who'd you have in the Daniel Jacobs versus Triple G fight? How'd you have that fight?
I thought it was a good fight. I thought the Daniel Jacobs showed, he definitely showed up and showed out, but I had Triple G edging him just a little bit. I thought Jacobs came on later on.
Mm-hmm. What about you, IBT?
I have the scoring here. Give me a second, because you know how BoxRec you can score fights. I have it there. Okay, so I actually had Daniel Jacobs winning by 1 point, but I had 2 swing rounds that you could have given to Golovkin. I think I gave both of them or one of them to. I think there were 3 swing rounds, and I gave 2 or 3 of them to Jacobs. But if you gave those to Golovkin, he's winning by like 116, 111, or 115, 112. So I don't mind either party winning that. But my first viewing, I saw Jacobs winning.
See then that's the other thing. It's how do you score? Do you give swing rounds or close rounds to the champ?
No, I don't do any of that. I think that's really dumb. Not dumb. Like, I don't think you're dumb if you do it. Just I don't favor that. I think that's a weak argument.
Yeah, I agree.
So
yeah, too. What about Canelo?
What do you score swing rounds as do you score draw rounds? Do you score 10-10 rounds?
Very, very rarely will I do that. I'll do 10-10 if I want to see, like I said with the swing rounds with Jacobs, I had Jacobs winning one way, but if you gave the swing rounds to Golovkin, he's winning. So that's why I don't have a problem with that fight. Yeah, like Dr. Mario said, I had Triple G 7-5 plus a knockdown over Jacobs. I had it anywhere from Jacobs or Triple G 7-5, because I think there were 3 swing rounds I had. Yeah, I don't really have a big problem with either of them winning, and I think it was a good fight. That kind of, I don't think that fight lowered Triple G stock, and I think a lot of people like to do that. I think it kind of raised both of their stock, because it proved that Daniel Jacobs is an elite fighter, and that Triple G, has a good name on his resume, and an actual tough fight, not just a bunch of tomato cans like people have you believe.
I can't
believe.
Go ahead.
What about Canelo and Triple G, the first fight?
The first fight I don't remember, but I didn't mind having Triple G win. But the second fight I had Canelo winning 7-5.
I thought that Canelo outclassed Triple G in the first fight, and I thought he beat him up in the second one.
Yeah, I could see a win for either of them in the first fight, but I kind of, not that I can't see Golovkin winning, but I thought the case for Canelo winning was much stronger. And if you want to say a draw, sure, but I don't think it. I just don't think it's a draw. I think the draw is like, you wanted a draw. You didn't think it was a draw.
Yeah, both fights were close.
The first fight I did actually have it a draw, but what's weird is that because me and my buddy, we were watching it, right? And we were scoring the fights by round, like how everybody does. And I'm a Canelo fan, and so is my buddy. And then after the fight, my buddy goes, "Damn, dude, Triple G won that fight." And then we looked at the scorecards. I'm like, "Dude, you had a draw." He was giving me the rounds, and then he's like, "No." I'm like, "Look, You have it a draw. We counted the rounds and it was 6-6. And he's like, no way. I'm like, look, it's right here. And I told him, look, the only reason it looks like Triple G won the fight was because he won more consecutive rounds in a row. You know what I mean? Like he won probably rounds 4 to like 9 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked more fight consistently, but we all know that's not how you score a boxing round. You that's not how you win fights. You win it by rounds. It's a 12-round fight, and you add up the rounds.
Yeah, but it really comes down to how do you score a fight? Because to me, you know, so I just watched Sweet Pea Oscar De La Hoya earlier today, right?
Yeah,
and that to me that is a classic example of how do you score defense. Like, is making a guy miss 5 punch combinations worth more than the fact that the other guy is coming forward? Like, just how you score fights, right? And that triple G Canelo is also a great example of that, because what I saw from Canelo, even in those mid rounds, was brilliant defense, right? And sure, I loved how he was countering in between shots. I think that Triple G might have outworked him to win those rounds, but I feel like you have to discount defense in order to give all of those middle rounds to Triple G. On the ropes kind of thing.
Yeah, that fight I had him wrong.
Yeah, and I'm fine if you had Golovkin 15-13, and I had it like pretty even. I could have seen it out of the way again with the swing rounds. If you look at BoxRec, and I know it's not like super reputable or anything, but the average scoring, so the public average, has it 113, 114, which is actually impossible. But if you look at the yeah, the 5th round for the average scoring, the 5th round is very, I don't know, it's weird. They both have 9-9. But if you look at all the judges in the official fight, they had that round for Canelo. So if you fill the average out to 10-9 for the 5th round, it's 14-14. So it's a draw. That's the average.
That's how I had it. And you know, one thing that I don't like too is that, you know, people said that was a controversial fight. I don't think quite the first one. I think it was a controversial judge that made it a controversial fight. Because if the judge that Adelaide Bird, she had it like what, fucking 118 to 108 or something, some stupid shit like that. Like, but I think if I had it just maybe like how it's supposed to be, you know, like 115, 113 or 114, 114, I don't think nobody would have said it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that scorecard made it a controversial fight. It's just a controversial scorecard, in my opinion.
But really the thing is, those guys have fought twice, and there's not really a lot to separate them. Like, it's really about like, what do you like? It's not like I can say the triple. To me, I've seen more skills and craft out of Canelo, and so I like that more. But I haven't seen a ton to separate these two guys. Like,
and unfortunately, I think the thing is that when they rematch again, I think Canelo's going to win in a more dominant fashion. Like, and probably not at the worst, because it's not like I don't believe Golovkin can do well or win, but I just think it'll be like a 116, 113, no, 112, right? Yeah, 116, 112 kind of fight. Like, he kind of wins a couple rounds, but Canelo's mostly just beating him, or it even might get a knockdown to the body because we saw Derevyanchenko hurt him. I just think Canelo's going to do better in the trilogy, and people are going to go, oh, he was old, it doesn't really count. So I think that's kind of unfortunate, but.
Get the smoke. Back to you were talking about you know, how defense, how about the Pernell Whitaker and Oscar De La Hoya fight.
Yeah.
I have a little thing right here of Judge Steve Weisfeld on how he scores defense.
Yeah.
And he says an example right here. It says, if boxer A throws 10 punches in a round but lands none of them, and boxer B lands 0 and throws 0, you still have an even round with no punches landed.
Right. No, I got it. But that's right. So I understand what he's saying and that sort of thing. But what happens if the other guy is actually landing also? Like, so because Sweet Pea's his production wasn't very high, right? And I'll even go with another one, Tyson Fury in the first fight. Everyone says how he outclassed him. but he outclassed him. Basically it was a bunch of defense stuff, and the output wasn't very high. The output wasn't very high from either guy, so it just became a thing about like how really do you score how is defense scored, and is it consistent over every kind of fight? It's really, for me, I thought Canelo should have got.
But then again,
I don't mind the draw, but I thought that Canelo was countering very well off the ropes, not just slipping punches and making him look all kind of crazy. I thought he was also countering fairly well off the ropes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also have effective aggression and ring generalship too, and clean punches, which is it's really hard to fucking score a fight, especially when it's real close.
Right, and that's the whole thing. Is it effective aggression because a guy isn't throwing very many shots? So because you are coming forward, no, but I'm just saying, like, specifically when it comes to Oscar De La Hoya, because the scorecard in that fight was fairly wide, with not a lot of shots being landed, and I think the cleaner shots were landed actually by Whitaker. But I think that Oscar De La Hoya was coming forward and was throwing a lot of shots. Also, the crowd was going crazy whenever Oscar De La Hoya threw a shot, so maybe that could have influenced the judges. But from what I saw, there was just a lot of, like, the defense of Pernell Whitaker was I think underrated, and I'm not quite sure how you score it as a result.
Yeah, no, well, effective aggression is out aggressor, but it's not just being aggressor. Is you have to be effective while being the aggressor. While you have to actually land punches while coming forward, And then when this guy was saying, hold on, let me finish. So when this guy was saying when it's a real close round, they'll go to the aggression. Who is the aggressor when it's a close round? Which that's like the last resort.
Right. Which doesn't to me doesn't actually show you for me, I feel like that sort of method undervalues defense. I think defense.
I know, but I know, and then, you know what? There's another one too. The ring generalship. So the ring generalship is the fighter who's fighting his fight. You know what I mean? And making the other fighter fight his fight.
Right, and I think both guys fought their fight. Really, I don't think that Pernell Whitaker was in a position where he was fighting Oscar De La Hoya's fight, and I also don't think Oscar De La Hoya was in a position where he was fighting Pernell Whitaker's fight. I think they both had success at what they were doing. But anyway, even on the Triple G Canelo, I think that really it was Canelo dictating where the fight happened, the pace of the fight. All of that. When it comes to the ring generalship, I thought that was Canelo, even on the ropes. He decided when he went to the ropes. Yeah. He decided when he left the ropes. It was all Canelo.
And that's what you're saying, where the fighter throws 10 punches and the guy dodges 10 punches. Oh, like how do you score it? I wouldn't score it. Oh, well, he threw the punches, so I have to favor him. I would be like, okay, well, did he force him to throw the punches? Obviously, with the 0 punches thrown, he wouldn't. But let's say Canelo dodges 5 and then hits 1. But Triple G was walking forward and he kind of hit one of those punches, so it counts. It's like, no, I think that's really dumb. I think that's like ineffective scoring. I think that's just favoring. Oh, he walked forward. Forward is good. Like that's very.
Yeah, like Danny Garcia and Danny Garcia and Porter. Porter was using his leg to maintain distance early on. And there's not a lot happening, but it was Porter actually dictating the exchanges when they happened, how long they took place, and sure he was using lateral movement and all that stuff. And it just I think the judges gave the first round to Danny, but then gave the second round to Porter, even though stylistically nothing really changed.
Yeah, and what I mean by when I say giving it to the aggressor. I mean effective aggression. He has to be effective while being the aggressor, not just being the aggressor coming forward and throwing punches. He has to be effective. He has to land punches when he's coming forward, or else then you're not being effective. Obviously, you're not landing.
But I'm saying, but there's different ways to be effective, because you can be effective by, like you were just saying, having the other guy fight your fight. And
that's ring generalship.
I rate ring generalship higher than I rate effective aggression necessarily, because I think ring generalship is just a better version of effective aggression.
Right. So
it's two totally different things. The ring generalship and effective aggression is
actually, I'm saying, I can't remember which judge, but they prioritize these things. Like the most important thing is clean, hard punches, right? The cleaner, harder punches, that is the best way to score it, right? But let's say you can't figure out from that, like it's basically an even. Then you go to something else. Then you cycle through, and ring generalship is basically like the least important. Like everything else has to be so close that now it takes ring generalship to actually tell the difference between the two.
Yeah, I'm saying I personally rate
no, but
higher.
yeah, for sure. Clean punches is the main one. You know, especially when judges like when they give the fans that wow factor. You know, like remember how like when Floyd's fucking like his defense to offense is one of the best I've seen. Just like Shakur Stevenson, they can transition from defense to offense so quick. It's crazy. But remember how Floyd used to do that, and then he would dodge a punch or miss it, and then he'll just throw a straight right and just be like boom, hit like right on the money. It wouldn't do that much damage, but everybody would be like, wow, you know, the crowd would
counter. Yeah, it's
yeah,
full
and
counter.
that's what the judges. Yeah, that's what. Just how you said with Oscar De La Hoya, when Oscar De La Hoya would come forward, and the crowd would go like, "Oh, wow!" You know, the judges look at that stuff too. That kind of favors the judges. But I mean, that's clean punches.
But I mean, even if it's
that's
not,
what they.
yeah, but clean punches. That's what I'm saying. It's a hierarchy of things, and for me, like it's not the same for every judge, but they all have this hierarchy. But some judges, like where they value defense, sort of changes, and also where they value ring generalship. You know,
correct. Every judge has they prioritize all those things different. Like I'll give you an example. Like in California, I know they love. I can cover the judges. They like aggression. I think that's to Charlo fought over here when he fought Tony Harrison. You know, get a little bit of favoritism when the judges come in because they like aggression.
Yeah, Vegas likes that too.
Yeah, well, kind of. If I mean, what about Floyd? He really didn't have that much aggression.
Yeah, but he got him on clean effective. Yeah, but he got him on clean effective punches. That's what we were just saying. Like he didn't let it get down to aggression.
Yeah.
He was just winning it off clean effective punches.
Yeah, he definitely when his was clean punches. You know what made him ring generalship? He always fought his fight. Every fight that you saw Floyd fight, he fought his fight. Ring generalship he had was probably the best. Him, well, obviously that and defense, right? But yeah, he had ring generalship. I would rate number 1, defense number 2 he had, and then clean punches number 3, and then effective aggression was probably the last one that he favored out of all those 4. Because do you guys remember a fight where he didn't fight his fight? Where he was not the ring general?
Castillo, that was it. That was a hell of a fight. It took him a while to get Zab Judah around. It took him less time to get Mosley. Cotto, that was a really tough fight. He wasn't really fighting his fight in the Cotto fight.
Yeah. And that ring generalship goes with his defense too, because his defense wasn't as good when he didn't have that ring generalship, just like in the Castillo fight.
But even then, that was earlier in his career. That was at like what, super featherweight or something like that.
Yeah, that was real early in his career. That's when he was Pretty Boy.
Yeah, that was Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah, you guys know that he became Money Mayweather right after the De La Hoya fight.
That whole thing, you know, for me, Oscar was kind of crazy with the A side. Floyd took it to another level, and I think now Canelo's taking it to another level. The fact that Canelo is like the baby of Oscar and Floyd is just like real weird, man. Like,
what are you talking about, dude?
I'm saying, like, we're saying, like, should Caleb Plant have taken the fight? Like, for real, dude? Like, how many catch weights have we had about Canelo fights at this point?
No, I wanted to ask that because I know some people say he was ducking, but nobody said he was ducking or anything, and I agreed. I just wanted to bring it up because I wanted to see where we stood on that, and we all agreed that he wasn't blamed for not taking that fight. And honestly,
but it's, whether or not it's about ducking or not, there's definitely people who are down on Caleb Plant for not taking that fight and saying that he should have taken it regardless. The 75-day turnaround or no 75-day turnaround, he should have just taken the fight.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up.
Look. Hold on. This is the way I look at it. Could he have taken the fight? Yeah. We're gonna blame him for it since it was noted. Like whatever, you know. I mean, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I mean, they can fight down the line. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like when it comes to that, like A-side stuff, is this, Spence is a little bit, but Spence to me is more of a sort of the new era of boxing that definitely a lot of PBC guys are in, but it's not just the PBC. As like I said, I see it in Jacobs, I see it in Crawford, where these guys have their careers already sort of set up for them. And Canelo's already, like, his thing is, he's already legit ATG, but still, he already knows how much he's going to make per fight. It doesn't really matter who he fights. It's not going to, like, becoming undisputed at 160 will just check a box. It's not like we don't think he's the best at 160 already. Becoming the best at 168 would be one hell of a feat. Becoming the best at 175 would be jaw-dropping, right?
Yeah. Hey, IBT. Who do you think is the A side from Spence and Crawford if they were to fight? Who's the A side there? Hello?
You're on mute, IBT. You muted yourself. Oh, maybe he stepped away.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you take it? Who do you think is the A side in that fight?
I think it's clearly Spence.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you define A side? Is that who brings revenue or who has more titles, or how do you?
When it comes to Crawford and Spence, it's I feel like it's market share, and the ability to dictate terms. Really, it's all really this A side thing is your ability to negotiate and impose your terms on the other guy. And I think that Spence has a lot more options, and he is the cash cow, and he is the unified. Like, there's just several things about that negotiation that favor Spence over Crawford.
I think that's perfect. The guy that is able to dictate terms.
If you want him to be the best at the division, why wouldn't he just accept like a 50-50 thing then?
If who wants to be the best at the division?
If Spence wants to prove he's the best at the division.
Because he can prove that he's the best of the division by fighting everybody else in the division. And
why not fight Crawford once, and then everyone will know you're the best in the division?
I'm just saying, like, the question is, why not 50-50? And the reason why he can not do 50-50 for Crawford is because he can make a ton of money fighting other people not named Crawford. That's just it. And at a certain point, it'll be incumbent on Crawford to prove he is the best in the division. And if Spence has already beaten all those guys, all he's done is prove that he's better than those guys, not that he's better than Spence.
So you're saying that Spence, by proving he beats all the other guys, is better than Crawford, of whose Crawford is beaten.
Right, exactly. It's about beating those guys first. Like, if that's to me, for Crawford to like make this whole I'm one of the best 147s. I feel like he needs to get that Pacquiao fight. He needs to get that Danny Garcia fight. Like somebody that Spence hasn't fought yet. That's also a top-rated guy. In order to make the argument, yeah, I'm better than Spence. Because if Spence starts just whooping up on everybody at 147, while Crawford is fighting like the Khans and the Green, the Mean Machines, then Yeah, it's going to just be Crawford fans saying that he's the best of the division. It's not going to be anybody else. The whole boxing world will be like, he beat all these other guys. He cleaned out the division.
What do you think about the things that people are saying that Al Heyman, his fighters not to fight Crawford?
I think that's only true to a certain extent. I think that at a certain point, the guys, like, they will have fought since the inventory at welterweight is all at PBC. Those guys get to fight
Correct.
each other in combination until there's actually a winner. The problem with Crawford is he's only the one guy. So whoever comes out of that, sure, they will not have proven that against Crawford, but because they will have proven that against each other, it'll be incumbent on Crawford to jump into that mix and beat some of those dudes. You know what I mean? It's just it is just what it is. It's a level of competition thing.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if Heyman was to say, "Hey, nobody fight, we're not fighting Crawford, freeze him out," what would that leave Crawford at?
I think that would leave Crawford at trying to improve his legacy by probably going up and getting a weak champ at 154.
I think that's his only option, because I think that's what's happening. I think they're freezing him out, and he's not get the fights that he wants. You know what I mean? Like
I think if they open their bank account, listen, I think that they could pay Mikey Garcia to fight Terrence Crawford. I just think that whether or not they're willing to pay him, or it makes business sense for them to pay Danny to go over there. That's a different. That's a horse of another color. But I don't think that the PBC are by design freezing out Crawford. I think that they just have business over here, and their business is just fine and it's booming. And if Terrence Crawford wants the pleasure of their services, he's going to have to pay for it through the nose.
Yeah, I just feel that just like the zone earlier about the zone offering these guys money and them turning them down. I don't think that's gonna happen, because even I think Kawanaki was offered like 1.5 million to. He only made $100,000 fighting Helenius. So I mean, I don't know what's up with that.
Do you really think that Kawanaki only made $100,000 fighting Helenius?
Yeah, that's what it was reported.
Yeah, I have a hard time. It's given the budget that Fox gave for these to put on these fights. I just have a hard time thinking that only $1 million, like less, only 100,000 of that budget went to a headline and heavyweight. I don't see that. But whatever. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what he made. I would be.
I do agree with you.
I would be shocked if he made 100,000.
Yeah, I do agree with you though. I mean, if Crawford doesn't get any PBC fighter within his next fight or two, he should definitely just move up. Because, like you said, almost all the top guys at the welterweight are in the PBC except for Crawford.
Yeah. I mean, it's just even if you. And this is really the deal of it. Like, Crawford, for me, used Errol Spence to negotiate his deal. Like, that's really, to me, what this whole thing is really about when it came to the Spence Crawford thing. Like, it's not. I don't think Crawford is really that hungry. I think Crawford is content to be quite blunt and frank about one of my guys. I can be frank, that's just what I see. I don't see him really pushing to make the big fights. I think he's fine hiding behind controversy and not pushing for the big fights.
I think Crawford does want the big fights, but he's just not getting them. He's not. I don't know why.
Well,
Danny
Garcia. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on, let me finish. Also, too, I don't think Bob Arum has been doing good promotion for Crawford too.
Yeah, no, it sucks. Absolutely sucks. Yeah, I don't think Bob has done his job. I don't think Bob. Yeah, I don't think Bob has invested in Crawford the way he should. I don't think Bob I don't think he believes in Terrence Crawford the way he should. I certainly don't think he's promoted him the way he should, and I think it is a absolute travesty for the whole look of Crawford trying to get the big fights for Mir Khan to be offered more money than Danny Garcia. Just period, just period dot. Like that. This whole it just leaves a bad. I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah. Also, Samuel Shaw, I just saw right now that he said that Mikey is not gonna fight Crawford because he wants too much money. I can see that. Like I see that Paul Barham's a tight ass too.
I just don't see the fight happening for a multitude of reasons that I don't think we need to see the fight. Sorry, I'm back by the way. But I heard you guys kind of talking about the whole Spence thing and the whole Crawford thing, and I kind of just disagree. I think if he has a belt, and the main reason he should fight him is because he said, "Get a belt and I'll fight you." And now that he has a belt, he's not fighting him. And he might lose his belt to Danny Garcia, so or he might vacate. So that's a difficult situation there. And in terms of talking about Bob Arum and Crawford, I do agree that I think Bob Arum has done a horrible job with promoting Crawford, and I think he's just not lined up the right fights for him to become a bigger name. But I still think he brings enough money to the table in a unification fight because that's the fight people are asking for. No one's really interested in a Crawford Khan or a Crawford Kavalauskas.
Yeah, the issue though is that Crawford is one of the ratings generators for Top Rank, and the fight even against Porter or Garcia, like it's very hard to get those other guys on the PBC to go over there. I think his best shot is probably a Danny, and I was talking about Danny, not Mikey, but I think they both won a bunch of money. They probably both won a bunch of money, and I think their market value is probably higher than Bob is willing to pay.
Hey, Ugas is.
Yeah, Ugas is. I really want to see Ugas Crawford because I think Ugas actually has a chance to win that. I don't know if not many people know, but Ugas actually beat Crawford in the amateurs, so I think that'd be a cool fight to see. And I think that Ugas' style does give him some trouble, and I think his size gives him some trouble too. But we have to see how that fight plays out. I really want to see that one.
I know Bomac was eyeing Ugas before before he fought Benavidez, like right after the Horn fight. He's wanted to fight Ugas for a while, but Ugas looked different at that point because Ugas was coming up from 140. He looked terrible at 140. At 147, he seems to be a lot better. This seems to be his weight class, and so now I'm not quite sure how keen they are to make that fight.
And the only reason I brought up Ugas was because if he is PBC, I think PBC will let him fight because he's not their top guy, and it will be a win-win situation. Because if Ugas was to be able to pull it out and beat Crawford, then they'll, you know what I mean? They're gonna be like, "Damn, Crawford is not who we think he is." You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that fight can actually happen.
Yeah, the only issue I see with that is that it's potentially great for Ugas, but potentially deadly for the actual marketability of the division. Just because Ugas is he's Spanish speaking, he's like sort of negative. I just like Crawford losing to Ugas equals tens of millions of dollars leaving the division.
Yeah, but I feel like that's Crawford's fight to take because that's an actual good name on his resume and someone.
Definitely.
I think Ugas gives anyone at 147 trouble. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think he's the very next one. Like right after Porter and Garcia, you got to put Ugas.
Yeah, I thought Ugas kind of edged out Porter in the fight, and then you have Porter having an argument for beating Spence too. So it's kind of a messy situation there, I guess.
Yeah, I think it would be a win-win situation for the PBC, for Ugas to fight Crawford because, like I said, if Ugas beats Crawford, now PBC has undoubtedly the best Spence. They will say, Crawford was overrated. They would have the number one guy.
All right, so people have had enough of me. I've had enough of them. IBT, you're the man. Raider, I can't wait till we have this again. But this has been a marathon talk about boxing.
Yeah, it has been. Do you want to
Sure.
shout out anything, or you got your channel?
No, man. I'm still jumping on you guys' lives. At a certain point, I'm gonna help out just because I think the COVID. We may need some lives, some guys to keep the conversation going 24/7. And I'm gonna figure it out so people know, we can hop on and I'll come up with some topics also. And also try to not dominate everybody else's lives and have my own and have you guys dominate mine.
I get what you're saying.
Get the smoke. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Good talking to IBT. Man, it's been good. Man, you can do your own channel, man. I just made mine like last week. I have one video on there. And little by little, I did one live, but man, I had no idea how to mess with all those buttons. But yeah, dude, anytime you get your channel up, I'll go, no problem.
Yeah, that's.
You know what I mean? We can all talk about boxing, and maybe one day on live on mine, and hopefully you guys subscribe, and we'll chop it up.
Really, I would do it if I could just figure out how to let everybody know that I'm going live, and I'm just trying to figure that part of it out. And as far as making content, I don't usually have the time to do that, but I'm interested. Like not to the to the standard that I would like for it done. I haven't, I fantasize about the content I'd like to make, and I just don't have the time to do that. That's all.
I'm in the same boat, man. I have all these ideas, all these things I want to do. I just don't want to put out a video and just be like, oh, whatever, Like the first video I made, I did a lot of research just to do one goddamn video. I put music in there. I put my background in there. I mean, to some of these guys, it's easy what I did, For the first time, it was a mission, and you know how much research I had to do to do that. But yeah, get your shit together, and I'll go on live with you. I'm pretty sure IBT is down too.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely down. And if you ever need help with StreamYard or anything, it's pretty easy. I can help you out. When you start making videos, I'll put you in the channels tab. We can help each other grow and stuff. And thanks for coming on. Even though we don't agree on a lot of things, it's still good for discussion's sake. So
yeah.
Oh, for sure. Hey, IBT, I was gonna ask you.
It's not about agreement. It's just about exchanging perspectives.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, IBT, I was gonna ask you, how do you on the StreamYard? How do you drop the link down on the comments? Like so.
On your phone right now, on the bottom it says mute, start cam mics, share all that stuff, right? It'll just have invite to the left, leave studio. It's just right there, and you click that, and it gives you a link, and you can just drop it in the comments.
Oh, all right. Invite. All right, cool. Hell yeah! I tried to do that last time. I had no idea.
I'll help you out off stream, man.
All right, sounds good, man. Appreciate it.
Are you guys both heading out, or is it just to get the smoke?
I don't know if Tim's around still, but peace to the chat and the panel. You guys rock in the chat always.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks IBT for having me on, and get the smoke, man. You guys have a good night, man. Thanks. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks to the chat too. Everybody in the chat.
Yeah, of course, man. Check out Raider from LA and check out DTS if you like the stream, and it'd mean a lot if you dropped a like and subscribe before you leave. I think I'm probably gonna be closing this down soon if no one else wants to join. All right, yeah, I think I'm going to be closing this down. Doesn't seem like anyone else is going to really hop on. I think stream's gone long enough. Thanks for coming, guys. Like I said, just drop a like or subscribe or whatever. And I'll try to go live tomorrow if no one's live in the afternoon or at nighttime, because I don't want to be conflicting with other people. So, yeah, thanks.